by the right of you fucking asshole. By the right of the council, by the will of the Force. Welcome back into another episode of the galaxy famous, Halcyon approved Jedi
I'm not the one that interrupted you.
Podcast. You are following us at Jedi Talk Podcast on Instagram, Facebook Jedi Talk Podcast, TikTok Jedi Talk, and YouTube.com/Jedi Talk. I normally have some fun stuff to say about the guys here on the regular council. I am Tom Okery on the High Council. Directly to my left, I don't have anything fun to say about him. I'm just going to play his theme, but he cried a lot on the way here.
Yeah. That's
Evan T. Boucher. Evan, how the hell are you today?
AKA Lieutenant Cry.
Adiga and good journey. You know, I am doing great because Spotify rap is a thing going around, and I was like, you know what? Let me see what these kids are doing nowadays. Let me do it. And then, lo and behold, of course, Gaia is my number one artist for
That's
2023.
Yeah. Gaia's your number one. I think I know who our other host's number one would be.
Yes.
And it's what's playing right now. That's Achilles' Last Stand. Our other co-host on the regular council, Brad Hughes. Brad, how the hell are you today?
By the right of the council, by the will of Kyle's mom.
Oh, that's a different soundboard.
I'm good. What's going on?
Good,
I'm just ready to get into this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Why's that?
Let's fucking go.
We got a really special guest.
We do.
Directly standing across from me.
There he is.
You can get him at a very reasonable rate. Former Galactic Starcruiser actor.
Former.
Jason Keller. Jason, how the hell are you today?
I am doing so good. Hey, don't tell him about the reasonable rate thing. You can get me for a very expensive rate.
Okay, there we go.
Very expensive rate.
It used to be reasonable.
prices
It used to be reasonable.
gone up.
Since,
I mean,
inflation. What are you going to do?
It's more reasonable than Kyle's mom's rate. So.
Oh, the first one of the evening.
Oh, shit.
Hang on, Evan.
Gotcha.
She charges you.
Here we go again.
She used to, but
Oh,
not
she
anymore.
doesn't. Yeah, not for me. It's free.
We're the 2 minutes in.
Did you get your fifth punch on the punch card?
Well, yeah, I think
Nice.
so. Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Three times. I'm just
The
going to keep
idea
it
of his mom with a punch card.
Does she listen to this?
God, I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah, right.
I know we're going to
Christmas
meet her
really
at some
awkward.
point. We're going to meet her at some point. I'm going to be like, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining Jedi Talk, Jason. This
Hey,
is
my pleasure,
an
man.
incredible experience just for us already, just to have you sitting here in one of our many spaces that we record this show here.
Yeah.
That and of
Put
course,
show in quotes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Galactic Starcruiser means so much to us. I'm telling you, top Star Wars moment already for the three of us having you in this room with us.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
So
Hey, that's
thank
fun.
you.
Yep.
To
thank you.
Wraith to us.
Yeah.
On our first
100%.
voyage,
Yeah,
and
dude.
it just
Yeah.
I don't shout out to everybody else who has portrayed it, but
They're all amazing.
I can't see it
they
any
are.
other way.
Yeah.
Oh,
In
well,
my-
thank you,
like
man.
in my mind,
We
I
had
mean,
a second one, and
Yes.
you by far, in my opinion, and it's all opinion.
We're different.
Different, but you were by
That's all
far
I'm
my
gonna
favorite.
say.
Well,
and
thank
and
you.
I know that's like I don't people don't like people to say that, but it's just it's what it is.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we're allowed to have preferences. I will say the other guys who played the part, everybody at Starcruiser, just by and large, brilliant actors.
Absolutely.
across the board.
agreed.
No question.
Agreed.
But thank you for that.
Your
I
character
appreciate
was going into this for me on the first one was a character that like I honestly had like no interest in
that. Oh yeah.
because I went in like going like I don't really care about that storyline necessarily because in your head you don't really I was spoiler free going into it for the
nice.
most part.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's how you should.
And it's
We
funny
made
because
it
like,
that way.
well, I went on before they did, and I told Brad as soon as I got off, I'm like, this Wraith Cole guy, he's gonna be your guy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no, dude, I'm going full resistance, all that thing. And
Yeah,
it
sure.
changed the second we started talking. I was like, oh, Evan was right.
Yeah.
Evan was right.
Well, I mean, for
Because
the
I
record,
would-
when I sat down on this chair before you hit record, we just spent the last like maybe 5-10 minutes talking about our mutual love of bourbon, and I
Right.
feel like that's a vibe, right? And I think
100%.
it's definitely a Wraith vibe.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I saw someone tagged me
I
or
sent it,
you
I
tagged
sent it to
me.
you in
That's
the
what
group.
it was. Yeah, in the group
There's
chat.
a Wraith Cole, was it bourbon?
That's right.
Yeah.
Bottle they
I
made.
think Cat made that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally,
Oh,
I'm like, I
that's
want that
definitely
T-shirt. Yeah.
I was like, I commented, I was like, there's not a shirt I want more than this shirt right here.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome. I don't know how 275-year aged whiskey would taste, but that's
No.
we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah,
It'd be aggressive.
It would be aggressive. That's
You'd
okay.
have like a drop left at the end of the aging.
It's like Wookiee liquor.
So,
Right.
so we're going to get to all the Starcruiser stuff.
Yeah.
But I would love to just know the Jason Keller story. Like, how'd you get to this point?
Oh man! All right, yeah, sure. I'm going to let's just try to keep this nice and brief. So I've been acting since I was 10.
Wow.
It started off in community theater and doing high school stuff, and never really looked back. There's nothing else I really wanted to do. And so I went to undergrad for it. Cut my teeth in Chicago, doing storefront. There's a huge storefront theater scene. Got my SAG and equity cards.
Amazing.
I met my wife, who's also an
cool.
actor. Yeah, she's awesome. And then we moved to New York because we wanted to, and we had some opportunities there. So we were there for a couple of years. During that time, I also went to school for screenwriting in undergrad. So I wrote a short that became a feature that got produced, which was super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where is this at?
What
So
is
it's
it?
on. It's
Yeah.
on. It's on every. It's called Hunter. I wrote it. I'm in it. Like it was
Ooh.
my big attempt to
I'm not going to bed tonight.
launch my career.
No, I
Yeah,
need to watch
exactly.
this.
It was good. Yeah, I mean, like it got some nice buzz around it. I think Richard Roper actually went on Good Morning America and recommended, which was like a career
Hell yeah.
highlight. I never thought that was ever going to happen to me. So it was super cool. Yeah, so it's on everything but Netflix right now. Yeah, and so we premiered that, and then I went to grad school in the UK because that was next on the list.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I looked up like where all my favorite all my favorite actors are old British people.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell
like
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love what they do with language. Like I really
Who's some
love
of
their
your
stuff.
favorite ones?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like Ian McKellen,
Hell yeah.
Jeremy
Woo.
Strong,
Yeah.
Dame Judi Dench, Helen Mirren. Like it's like there's just a thing where like they're just magnetic to watch, and like the way that they work with language is second to none. And so I was like, where did half of them go to school? And all of them went to this little tiny crazy school called the Bristol Vic Theatre School in the UK, which I got into and went to. And it's this little. It was founded by Laurence Olivier. It's this little. It's two Victorian mansions stitched together by a very uneven new building, where all the floors are unlevel in the whole. There's not a square angle in the whole damn thing, and like it's just the most. But like if you're like a theater person, like you get that. Like that's everything, right? Like that's the
That's so
backstages you
dope.
grew up in. Yeah, it was super cool. So got the master's there. My wife actually went to Lambda in London, and then like 2 days after she graduated, we're like, well, now we have to figure out what happens next. I got the audition for Starcruiser, and it came in, and like my favorite characters are always like Star-Lord and
Yeah.
Han Solo and Mal, from Firefly, right? Captain Mal. Like there's
Yeah,
like
hell yeah.
right? There's like a space smuggler, smarmy, heart of gold thing. It's kind of what I wanted to grow up to be when I was a kid, right? I mean, like right? I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. if
Still,
you're-
I'm still trying to be Darth Vader.
yeah.
A little different, but okay.
Yeah.
I think you
got
got
the
to
height.
lose a hand first.
At
and then,
least.
I got to do a lot of unspeakable
Yeah,
things
you
that,
do,
that
yeah.
I'm not willing to do, but
I was gonna say
maybe one day. Yeah.
Don't let you babysit.
No,
I think is what it
yeah,
comes
I mean,
down to.
yeah.
He's a new dad too.
Yeah, I am.
That's
I know.
concerning.
It's right. It's okay. It's a joke, people.
Run, you gotta
It's a
run.
joke.
Yeah,
It's
right.
a-
Need to run.
It's a joke. Evan, calm down. Jason's
Sorry.
talking. Jeez.
No, Evan. I think you should be upset.
Yeah, so that's why I always
This is
stay
kinda
closest
scary.
to the door.
I
always-
see. No, I can understand
But
that.
I allowed you to
pushes
have
his
that
fiancé
tonight.
out.
Thank
of the
you.
way.
I actually really like.
He won't let me leave.
I'll send back bourbon.
Please.
Do you
Yes,
need me
right.
to blink twice if I'm in trouble?
Yeah,
I will.
He's been blinking twice this whole time. I don't remember if it's even or odd. That was one. That was one.
Wait,
I'm not
was
sure.
one.
I shouldn't
Yeah.
say it. He can hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is bad. Now we're all in trouble.
If you put Evan's brain in a parakeet, it flies backwards. Like, calm down over there, Boucher.
Exactly. And it flies backwards back to the Starcruiser.
yeah, there you go. Exactly. As it
Because
should,
it thinks
as
it's
should.
open.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. This is back in time.
It's
time
still
is funny
open.
in space. Yeah.
So,
man.
Starcruiser. So you
Oh
got
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So Starcruiser, they sent this monologue, and I was like, oh man, I really want this. Look at this thing. And so, put
What's
in
the
a tape
audition
for it.
like for that? Is
Uh,
it just a standard Disney audition?
So Disney does things a little differently. So like I was overseas, so it was they actually there's a guy in town named Hayden who is a good friend of mine who was an actor for a long time who they went to, and we're like, hey, do you want to come in and audition for this? And he goes, no, but I know a guy, right? Because he knows me pretty well, and so he sent them my way. And they send you a monologue, and the monologue actually doesn't appear in the show at all. It's just kind of Wraith Cole being Wraith Cole. It's him being like, all right, so you think you're tough. You want to get involved in this? I don't necessarily think, well, you've got what it takes. But if you want to take the risk and that risk is on you, we might be able to work something out. Like it was just a little bit of that, right? It was probably 2 minutes of that. So I did it. It felt good. Did it again. Sent them 2 takes. And then like a week later they called and they're like, hey, do you want to do some improv for like the creative director? And I was like, yes, I would
Yes,
really
I
much
do.
like to do that, And then like 3 weeks later, they moved me from England to Florida.
Holy shit, dude.
Wow.
To start and be part of the development process.
That couldn't have been cheap. That's why the price was so high.
Yes, that's right. It
They
was
had to
me.
move
It
you.
was me. Yes, exactly.
And
That's where your $6,000 went.
and we all
Eat
say
a
it
TikTok.
over and over again. It's worth it.
Yes,
Like, yeah,
exactly.
we're very happy they
It's
did
worth
that.
it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad
you.
to hear that. You know, what's funny is that like as much as people bemoan the price, I've yet to hear anybody who came on the thing and was like,
Yep.
well,
Thank you.
I thought it was a
Preach.
little
Thank you.
overpreached.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
too much money.
Preach.
Like no one ever who
Yep.
came said that. It was all the other people.
Yep.
So
It's all the people who couldn't make it, or they said it wasn't Star Wars. You know,
We
They're-
did many rants about
Right.
people
We
saying
have.
that they
Oh, yeah.
couldn't go. And
yeah.
Yeah.
we
So-
did it. We did it twice. Evan did it 3 times.
I do it every day.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly.
Hey, that's
So,
awesome, man. That's
yeah.
good. Hey, it's my happy place too. I love that stuff. So.
Yeah, 100%.
So, what did the developmental process look like? What can you tell us about that?
Ooh, yeah.
Burn them bridges.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was going to say how much
They don't
do I
deserve
wanna-
you. So
Well, so here's the shit, all right? No, you know, it was, I came in and, you know, I think that they, I'm trying to decide how politic I want to be here. They were planning to be a little further along in the development of the script and the story than they were when we all got there. And so what ended up happening is all of us, you know, were in, and as opposed to being handed scripts that we were going to do, suddenly we were improvising scenes that then got incorporated into scripts and treatments. And so there's a huge part of this. I mean, I think that's why we all feel so much ownership of it, is as much as it does belong to Disney, and that's part of the contract
course.
you sign, is
Yeah.
anything
Yes,
that
of
you
course.
create is ours,
It's
right?
theirs.
And-
This
and
or
it
any
is,
other
and that's
galaxy
fine.
universe.
You're right.
That's in, actually, I told him that was actually in the.
it is in the
NDA,
contract.
yeah.
It says in any known or unknown universe.
Yeah.
Which makes you
Like-
wonder what Disney knows, right?
Exactly.
Oh, they know.
That's
I'm
why
like-
the MCU is all about multiverses now. They're like, we know.
they're like softening you to the idea. They're like,
Exactly.
all right, get ready because
Project
Ready.
Bluebeam. It's
'Cause now
disclosure.
we're-
Don't get me started.
Because now we know Jason number 85's thoughts and brain. We own that too.
Do I have to fight him? Is it like Highlander, where like there
There
can
can
be
be
Yeah.
only one.
Yes.
Can I borrow some of those lightsabers
Absolutely.
up on the
Yeah.
wall? All right,
Any-
cool. I probably
your
want
choice.
Luke's OG.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
the best one for
Green
killing
blade, green
kids is
blade.
Vader's.
Oh,
so
it's
grab
true.
that one.
Or Anakin's Vader. Yes.
Right, yeah, Anakin's definitely. So yeah, you know, we came in and that was a really wonderful part of that. I mean, like I have a screenwriting background, and there were a lot of wonderful improvisers, and so both hashing out the overall story beats, you know, and that Michael Tara Garver, who you know has a huge pedigree and is now going on to do incredible things in the field of immersive with Culture House. You know, she was the guiding light and the guiding force, right? But you know, she did a really pretty good job in the end of bringing us all in to try to contribute creatively to what ended up on stage.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
yes,
It's not the first time we've heard her name praised
No.
by
Yeah.
other
And that's-
performers when we talked to Adam and Sage even.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
story
That's
is
awesome.
very consistent with
Yeah.
what we've heard and what I've heard from a lot of people that were like, they didn't have a lot of stuff done, so we kind of made it up. And
Yeah,
it's like, that's
yeah.
how we got it.
Yep,
dude.
that's kind of
Yeah.
It was honestly nuts, you know, because like I wasn't. I mean, you never really know in terms of when you're, especially if it's a job out of town and you know nobody, you know, because I was coming in as a newbie, and most of the other people who were working on this thing had been with Disney for a very long time. We're talking
Yeah.
like 20 years.
There were
you know,
some
kind
that
of-
did the freaking Adventurers Club. We talked about them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
There's people that have been around for decades and decades.
Right,
So,
right,
yeah.
exactly, like lifers, you know, which is
Yeah.
cool. But so coming in, you never really know what you're walking into, and I don't know, you know, I mean, like there's all kinds of stories I could tell you. Like, you know, the heist, I felt a lot of sort of personal ownership over, just because I, you know, contributed a lot to that. Like, just writing down the story beats that we ended up using in the end, and sort of handing them to Michael and the board of Cochet at one
Yeah.
point. We were all trying to work it out. It was cool to
That's
see the
insane.
process happen, and I've been part of some development processes before, but to be a little more central to it was spectacular.
You made Star Wars canon. Like you created
Yeah.
Star
Yeah.
Wars canon.
That's
That's
wild, bro.
insane.
And
I
it's
was
crazy
sick,
too that
yeah.
you just
That's insane.
You don't need to say like specifics or anything, but you said like the heist was one of the big things that you kind of nurtured. And that's a big part of the story. That's not like this one random scene
Right.
where like it's tiny thing. That's a big part of the story.
Yeah,
and
well,
they didn't have that. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, and granted, like I certainly wasn't. I wasn't the only
Right.
one, right? I mean, it was definitely a team effort, but there's stuff throughout that like, you know, I felt a tremendous amount of ownership and pride in that, just because I know, you know, I knew that I contributed to it, which is cool. It's you know, part of the draw was, you know, we're going to move to Florida. My wife's family's from Tampa, and so being in Florida after 2 years overseas, like, you know, during COVID. Which
to
was
be tough,
It was a
yeah.
little rough,
Yeah.
right? And so like she lost some family members. We wanted to get back to family, but part of the reason to take the risk and come here is like, well, you get to help originate a Star Wars character and help write some Star Wars content. And I was like, well, yes. How much?
Yeah.
Wait, no. Wait, how much am I getting paid? I should ask that first before I
yes.
agree to it immediately. But like, yeah, it was awesome. It was the chance of a lifetime, and it was. I'm very, very happy that I did.
And we're so thankful that you did.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jason.
That. Yeah, hey, my
That's
pleasure.
cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. Big moment,
yeah.
big career moment. So
you obviously talked about like personal development of story. So then, how much of Jason is truly in Wraith Cole?
oh man, so we talk about this a lot in
Yeah.
immersive, right? Because when you're playing a character where everything's scripted, right, you can believably create patterns that are a little more like somebody else. And it never really is somebody else. You're kind of taking parts of you and expanding certain parts and shrinking certain parts until you can get to play whoever you're trying to play, right?
Sure, yeah.
You can't, I think it's really hard to make up stuff as somebody else.
Okay.
You can kind of do it with a different skin, but like the heart of it has got to come from you because it's your creativity, right? And looking at Wraith, and this wasn't true of every track. A lot of the tracks were much more highly structured, and all of it. We had like places we had to be by the minute, or else the show breaks, and like so it is kind of a very structured. But Wraith specifically, we had 6 hours and 20 minutes on stage every 2 days.
Wow.
25 minutes of that were scripted for us.
That's insane.
Yes, right.
That's
exactly.
insane. But when you say that, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the parts where you're talking to Captain Keevan during the
Holy
heist,
shit, dude.
Yeah.
that's only like 5 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
Like, so everything else is just make it up.
And that's the other thing about the captain conversation with the heist. Even that's a treatment. That's not a script.
That's true. It changes
Yeah,
too.
God
it
damn.
does.
Yeah.
Right. So there are certain things, and it's when we interact with tech, right? So like when we're on the bridge, that
Yeah.
stuff is because there's cues. Has got to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And we even get to the point with that where like your cue lines, right? And you know roughly how long it's going to take. So the other actor does something fun, and you're going to catch that ball and throw it back, and so you're playing around. So
Yeah.
even those drift a little bit, day to day.
Yeah.
But you get out of this, and I'm like, well, so I did. Because I had 2 cruises a week, 4 days for the majority of the run. I think I did 110 of them, which adds up to something like 700 or 800 of 800 hours of Star Wars content that I've personally made up.
Man.
That's incredible.
It was super weird. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a
George
strange. Yeah.
Guinness Book of World Records right there.
Something like that. Yeah, I
Insane.
think maybe with the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni's got me beat. But,
Yeah, it goes
it's
Lucas,
something-
Filoni,
But-
Jason Keller. Yeah.
Well,
You've got them beat though because yours was better content.
oh, I
Oh.
that's-
And I love the Clone
That's
Wars,
really-
so
that's
that's
really
not even
good.
throwing
I don't know
shade.
about
That's
that,
me
but
saying
thank you.
you're better.
A lot of the
That's
Clone
really
Wars
sweet.
is trash. Let's
Yeah.
be real.
a lot of it's good, but it
There's
takes
some
a minute to
real
find its
boring shit in that show. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I do like Filoni stuff, though. I
Oh,
do.
yeah,
Filoni's
For
a
sure.
god.
You know,
He's
like
a
his
god.
new stuff.
Last week we praised him being promoted to that. What is it?
should be.
Chief Executive Officer. First off,
Creative officer.
CCO.
Yes.
Whatever.
we all believe Rebels is next to one of the best things Disney's done with Star Wars.
Yeah.
We all love The Last Jedi too, but so Dave
Yeah.
Filoni is God. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's awesome, and I love his stuff. But I thank you for saying that. I mean, it's
No, yeah.
good to hear that what we made resonated with people.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much improv you guys did. That's
No,
I
like,
did
we knew it was a
It's
lot,
nuts.
but we didn't think it was bad.
I remember
it was
telling one of you
insane.
guys. I remember telling one of you guys when we were on the ship. I was like, "This is like I can tell this is." I did stand up for a long time.
Okay,
and I did
yeah.
improv starting going into that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do improv and not be funny. I don't like not that you're not funny,
Well,
but you know what I'm saying. But like with the intent to be funny. Like it's
Yeah.
wild to me that you guys can do like serious improv. I don't get that. My
Yeah,
brain
the
can't wrap my head
emotional
around that.
improv is
Yeah.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it's connecting with people and just sort of building those relationships. And the cool thing is as much as it's an emotional experience for the people who come on and ride, like it's just as much for us because there's certain things you can't fake. And like, yeah, we're both weeping over a stone that is not the best prop. Right, like the storyline is gorgeous, but that thing is clearly a plastic, right? And but there's moments where you're down there with someone who's dressed as a Twi'lek who you met a day and a half ago,
Right.
and you're having this like very deep emotional moment, and you don't fake that, right?
Especially
like, that's
if it's
real
the
for
second
us
or
too.
third time you've seen this character, not in this cruise, but in the span of a year.
Right.
They keep coming back.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's spectacular. It was again some of the wildest work that I've ever done, and I worry that there won't be anything approaching that level of challenge going forward.
No,
Yeah,
there won't be.
totally
There won't be.
probably
I know,
not.
right? Like
Nope.
that's the hard part.
Did you ever get to do it as a guest?
Actually, no.
Did you ever want to
This
do
is
it
the
as a
same
kid?
reaction
totally.
we get from everybody.
Yeah.
They laugh and say,
Yep.
nope.
Yep. Yeah. There's a bit of a point of contention with that.
Yeah,
with
interesting.
with the cast never got to invite our families or come on.
So fucking
So we
stupid.
this is not made up. We've heard it from like 5, 6 different people now. So
Yeah.
like, that's
Man.
a fact
Dang.
that they
Yeah.
screwed people over. Shocking.
Yeah, it's I look. I wasn't there in the room making the decision. My feelings about it are kind of the same as yours. It is what it is. My wife got to come, which is cool. I mean, she paid.
Thank God.
You know, she paid full
Oh,
price,
man.
but you know, I did bring her on.
Discount. Jeez.
I know. But yeah, never got to play it.
That sucks,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Well, so if you ever could play it, what would you do?
Oh God, good question. I would like to say that I'd
Stand in
like.
the corner and smell like that's not really Wraith.
That's not it.
You know what's crazy? All right, so there were times towards the end because like the attendance started to wane a little bit in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, as I think at this point everybody knows, and so they started canceling cruises. Right. So
Right.
they had like 1 or 2 cruises a week that were gone, and we still need our hours for per our contract. So they'd bring you in just to observe.
Oh.
And the crazy thing would be that we could go out on stage so long as we were in our own sort of bounding, like our Star Wars gear,
Yeah.
or just. But the problem is I learned very quickly that people knew who the hell I was.
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird moment.
It was very weird because like you'd be in a scene and you're watching like the dude who's playing Wraith and someone looks and just goes Wraith Cole.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
oh no, oh
Yeah.
God, I've ruined it.
That was-
You know what I mean? You gotta run away.
That was on our second cruise.
Yeah,
we knew there was a guy
We
poking
were pointing
around.
out a
Yeah.
few performers on
Yep.
both of our
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
second and third cruise. We were doing that too.
That's
Like, we're like,
exactly.
oh, we know who they are, but like
Yeah.
we
And it's
didn't
good-
we didn't break it or anything. I go talk to them or point them.
Oh,
we didn't,
no,
like,
I would never
say
do
it's
that,
Wraith Cole.
yeah.
We were just like, hey, I think that's them, and like move on.
Luckily, no one ever did it publicly, but people, I got handed, I mean, because one of the ways that the guests show that their appreciation, which is really lovely, is like these little trinkets that you get and things that
Right.
people have spent time making. And
It's crazy. Yeah.
You know, and we all have these huge, beautiful buckets that are slowly going to become a wall like this about all the stuff that we got, which is awesome, and these memories. But it was a very weird moment to like be there and not be in character at all, and have somebody come up and be like during another Wraith scene, be like, "Hey, you were amazing. Here's a lightsaber I made for you with a 3D
Oh
printer," and you're
my
like, "Wow,
God.
thank you so much. I have to leave though because this is not my moment. This
Yeah,
is
right.
this
You're
performance
like, I
moment."
can't get in trouble
Yeah, this
for
is rough.
just sitting here.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
tough.
I don't know how we got on that, but what I would do.
What
so
would you do?
I thought about this a lot
the show.
actually. Yes, right.
Yeah, we
exactly.
get on
Yes.
so many things.
We're going to do bourbon now, right? That's what we're going to.
We're going to do the next hour and a half is just going to be me and him talking about bourbon. So
Spectacular. All
let's
right,
wrap
good.
this
That's
up.
what
There is
that's
some
what I was
blackened in
promised.
this. Like, it is-
Yeah. But yeah, what I would do, I would like to think that I would go hardcore, First Order or something like that, just because
so
like
funny.
I saw so little of that. Because Ray,
Sorry.
the funny thing is that's my sort of gut reaction too. Is I'm like they're dressed like space fascists, like it's not even
You're
hidden,
right.
like they're called stormtroopers, like that's like a direct reference
Yeah,
to
not
Yeah.
even
You know,
hiding it.
They're not. Yeah, it's just not
No.
subtle. And I don't know if I could get beyond that. Just personally, and I'd like to think that I would, but I have a feeling that if I was on, and Wraith came up to me and was like, "Hey, you look like you've seen the other side of the galaxy," I'd be like, "Yes, I have. What do you need? What do you want me to do? I mean, what would you like? Can I help you steal something? I will totally, if I'm being honest."
And that's what a
You're
lot
like, I
of
have an idea.
Yeah.
like. What if we go steal that stone right over there? Like, how do you know?
Space compass?
Yeah.
But that's the magic of Wraith Cole, because
Yep.
the three of us, the one cruise we did together,
Yeah.
we were not necessarily involved with Wraith at the point, but
I
he
had no
came up
plans
to
to.
us
Yeah.
after dinner, and he got us. He talked us
Yeah.
all into it. Yeah, it's the magic of what you guys do.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
and
like
that's what
getting people in.
all the repeat people have said. They're like, okay, my 4th or whatever cruise, I didn't plan to go see Wraith, but it's Wraith.
Wraith
is
was there.
You can't. You don't really turn down Wraith. So it happens.
That's pretty awesome. Well, it's funny because, like, I mean, that storyline got to be way more popular than I think they anticipated. To the
Yeah.
point where
Oh,
they had to-
absolutely.
They had to change some of the programming to whether or not people got on it, because we were having cruises of like 130 people, and at that point, it's not cruise, having. Well, cruise, but
Right.
having like heist cruise of like 130 people, and at that point, it's not a heist; it's like a mutiny, right? Like at that point, we're gonna take in the ship. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
now we have the high night, we have the rest. Sorry, Captain, I love you to death. I love you to death. You're first mate now.
That's
That's exactly right.
Man. And then
So-
you try to squeeze in 130 people in that cargo hold. It's not possible.
Well, I mean, you can tell
breaks it a
people.
little.
But that third cruise we were on, I was standing on top of the box up by the wall because people were pushing me up. I had nowhere else to go. So,
Well, that's what's
yeah.
funny. Like you can tell over the days that like people start gravitating towards that character naturally.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like you said, it's in us. Like the Han Solo-y Star-Lord kind of character is like what every dude wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly what I wanted to be. It was the sort of joy of it. You know, I couldn't tell you exactly what the differentiator was, you know, but it was, I don't know, someone at one point, I think this happened on stage, someone was up and was like, all right, Wraith, my friends are all with you, why should I go with you? And I'm like, well, you know, you can go with the captain and all them and be good, or you can go with the First Order, and if you ask me, that's bad. Or you can come with me and be cool. It's up to you. It's up to you.
That is the best quote ever.
I mean, how do you say no to that?
Right, exactly.
No, you got me there.
You
You
know,
got me. But it's funny because I'm not going to reread my whole Instagram post that I just did. But
Please
it was,
don't.
No, I'm not going to. Because then I'll cry.
I actually
kind of
want.
Read it.
I mean, I kind of just for you. I mean, or you could just cry. I don't know.
No,
I'm
well,
not being hearing about you
It's
crying.
amazing that hasn't happened yet.
He will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give it time.
But it was just the first cruise that Taylor and I went on was like the 8th cruise ever.
Right.
And like we've said at the beginning, former performer here of the Galactic Starcruiser. So I'm covering bases, hopefully. But
Yeah.
you were our Wraith that cruise. But we didn't talk to you at all. And
Yeah,
then,
because you were hardcore First Order,
Yeah,
weren't you?
we only did
Yeah.
First Order. We didn't
Yeah,
talk
I
to
remember.
anybody except Croy.
Yep.
So the
Dumbass.
Yeah. No.
And they're great. The Croys are amazing.
Yes,
they have a
yes.
very tough job.
But it
because you
was
gotta
much
make
more
that
fun
character
doing
relatable.
multiple characters as we learned second and third cruise. But
Yeah.
the heist happens,
Yeah.
and we thought the marriage proposal was real because we saw your face, we saw your reaction, and we're like, "Oh, this isn't supposed to happen. This is like some weird random moment in the middle of the atrium."
This is
'Cause
my
you
favorite
sold
Tell them how you
it-
found out
You
about
sold
the
it so
marriage
well.
proposal. Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
we get off. Like I said, we don't talk to Wraith at all,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go in May, so we have to wait a couple weeks or months. I don't spoil anything for them.
That was 2 months, wasn't it?
It was 2
Yeah.
months.
Holy
yeah.
It was
shit.
March to May.
Wow.
The fact that
I
we
didn't
didn't go
spoil
in
anything.
we went in spoiler free
Yeah,
is
I just said
crazy.
you're gonna like
That's a
Wraith. That's all I
success,
told
yeah.
them. So then they get off. We finally can have spoilers. We talk like 8 hours, or whatever, and they just casually drop in when they're talking about the story. They're like, and then we had that like heist. We stole a thing with that fake marriage proposal, and then we did this. And I was like, whoa, back up. A fake marriage proposal?
Because we were involved with you. We were doing it
Yeah, of
with
course,
you.
Yeah,
know.
and I was like,
Yeah,
what do you
exactly.
mean? And he's
Exactly.
like, yeah, it's not real. Like, that happens every cruise. So then I started watching the YouTube videos, and I'm like, it does happen every cruise. This is
Yep.
not a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had no idea. But you sold it so well.
Well, hey, thanks, man.
But then-
Can I tell you a couple quick stories about that?
Please
that
do.
moment?
Please do, yes.
So first off, we had 2 actual proposals.
I
Oh
believe
crap!
it.
Real
I was
proposals.
wondering about
Well,
this.
because like I said, we were
Yeah.
on the 8th
Yeah, it was
voyage.
wonderful.
So in my brain, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just some guy being like, I'm the first proposal on
Wait,
the Starcruiser.
don't sit and pretend some guy wouldn't be you.
Obviously, it wasn't.
Well,
I had 3 chances.
now.
No, because I had
Right.
a chance to do it even
That's
when I
true.
knew it
You
was
did.
closing.
Well, how's it make you feel, Taylor?
Yeah.
We were on it 3 times.
You were
together.
awful.
What
I
do you
know
mean,
that this
what?
is. Well, we should. I feel like we should leave.
We were on
now.
it. What? We were on the ship
Hit the
together
button!
3 times. What do you mean, what? Do math. What are you talking about? I'm just saying we were on the ship together and a proposal.
All right, let's
could
move
have
on.
I feel like
Jesus
this is gonna-
Christ.
yeah, I know,
I'm
there's
sorry.
about to
I was
be-
kidding.
We're going to make use of these lightsabers soon. Oh.
I don't understand.
You
the
dialed
confusion.
Which one do you
9-1.
want,
Yeah,
Taylor?
all right. Yeah, down 9-1.
I don't understand the
Be ready.
confusion. I'm just saying that like we had the chance, and I said no. There's a better time, and I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh, I proposed on the Starcruiser. Like,
So
I
Yeah.
mean, fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah, we did have a couple people though who came up with like actual rings beforehand, and they'd seen it on YouTube,
Wow.
and they were like, "Hey, Wraith,
Oh,
you know,
nuts.
I'm interested in being in your crew." And I was like, "Okay, I can't. I mean, as long as you're not, because the casting for the heist is very specific
Yes.
in terms of like who you're going to put, because you have to have somebody who's going to play well enough that it's fun for everybody else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but not go so big and crazy that they're going to break it." Right?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of sussing it out. And I mean, both times they seemed like reasonable, sane people who were playing well. And so, yeah, teed it up, and there were 2 actual proposals on the heist, which
that's
was
awesome.
which was super
Thank-
cool. And then the only other story I'll tell you about the heist.
please,
So
as many as you need.
almost. I mean, I just think you guys are gonna kick out of this one. So you look for couples, right? And you look for people who are very clearly connected, who are also playing scoundrel or playing well. And there was one cruise where I just didn't have that.
wow.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, we had lots of people who were playing scoundrel really well, but I didn't have like a couple.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes what will happen then is you invite the people who, you know, you want to be part of the heist, and it's a game time decision. Where in the prep, you know, you've got a couple people pegged, but everybody else are kind of looking around and going like, okay, free association, what have I seen you do? All right, you'd be good for this. And you're just kind of doing it in real time, right?
Yeah.
Once you get comfortable with it. And so I do all the other roles because I don't have anybody. And the only 2 people left are these 2 male friends who are there without their wives. They've told me this as like a boys' trip.
This would have been so fun if we did this.
And like I'm like,
almost
I don't know if this is
jealous
going
it
to
wasn't
go
us.
well,
Yeah.
you know.
I know,
but like,
dude.
and so I'm like, all right, meet me upstairs by the stone. I'll explain once we get up there. And so, and so we go, and I'm looking for, because you also have people you played with who show up for the upstairs portion. I'm like, I'm able to pull somebody there, and like I couldn't for the life of me find anybody that made sense. Like I could have like made it work with people who I kind of knew, but there was nobody who was like really in the crew. And these guys kind of earned it, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
This is innovative. Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
So we did. I go, you guys good with this? And they kind of look at each other like, this is not the Star Wars experience I thought I was getting.
Well, that's because they wanted to put a chick in it.
Put a chick in it. Make her gay.
There you go.
There you go. Nice. I didn't know you were gonna have that prep. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Very apropos.
there's a lot on this soundboard.
Yeah. And so they did it though. They went through with it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then afterward, like they,
bro, I can't believe we spent $5,000 for me to propose to you, bro. What the fuck, bro?
See, that's the thing. Then, like, how do you decide who proposes to who at that point? Rock, paper, scissors. Like, do you just go and like,
Bro, you know you're gay, bro. Just let me do it.
it's like, which one of us makes more sense to get down on one knee?
Yeah.
Well, for reasons that I don't really want to go into. Actually,
You cried in the Notebook.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So you should be the proposed
Yeah,
to one.
exactly.
What? Why? So yeah, though they did.
You wore that pink shirt, bro. You know.
ah, you got me there, man.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing too. Is we also, I mean, whenever there was a gay couple, I'd also, because they get a moment in the sun, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you gotta make a call about how much risk you're willing to ask people to take on socially.
Right.
Because some of the things we're doing are very uncomfortable.
Sure.
And it was wonderful to see these older gay couples who probably who weren't well accepted, announce their love to a room full of people and have all those people go nuts and cheer. And it was always this really lovely, wonderful moment for them.
The perfect community to do
Yeah,
it.
Yep.
exactly.
sure.
It's very warm and loving, and so and to see that kind of anxiety going in, but know that it's going to be okay for them, and then have that pay off for them was also really lovely.
That's cool.
These two dudes definitely not gay though. Like, and they were cool about it. They were like looking at me for the rest of the cruise like I don't.
Did they avoid you the rest of the cruise?
No,
or-
they
okay.
still played. They were just kind of like, you owe us, Wraith Cole. And I'm like, well, hey, look, we can talk about it after the honeymoon, guys.
Yeah.
And the Padme and Anakin love suite.
Exactly. Send them to that room.
Guy and I will book a room for you.
Yeah.
It'll be very
Oh,
romantic.
God, that's
we'll
so
get the
funny.
rotating bed. It'll be
But that
good.
also is the point. As those two guys were like, you commit. You're like, all right, we're in this now. Like, we're fully playing along. We're doing this.
That,
Like,
I would have, dude.
Yeah.
If any two of us could have done that, that would have been fucking.
yeah,
awesome.
and we all would
been
have done
highlight.
it. We wouldn't have
See,
hesitated.
that's the thing. It's fun. Is
Yeah.
is that what you thought you were getting? But like,
No,
all good
but we
stories
would've
are
done it.
subverted
That would've been
expectations.
so
right?
cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. They
I'll
certainly
never
have a
get to
story
propose to Tom now. Damn it.
Yes.
I just want to know. I'm
And
like,
we're
I
all
want-
better off for it.
I want them to call it and be like, oh no, we went home and told our friends, because that goes one of two ways. You either tell that story forever or you never tell a soul.
Yes.
Bro,
You know
we're
what
not
I mean?
telling anybody, bro.
How's the Starcruiser? It was
fine.
It was all right.
They-
fine,
they-
yeah.
It was good.
And they
We
look
can-
at each other
yeah.
like, how was it? Like, it was good.
Yeah.
We,
They're like, how about the football game? How about those guys? Yeah.
shut up,
exactly.
Garrett. We don't talk about the house we are.
It's just for you and me.
Check.
From here on out, hot tubs together with the two of them are just going to be really weird.
Two bros.
We'll be able to
chilling
sit in there
a hot
together.
tub.
Yeah. They're going to
feet
need their
apart, but
wives
they're
or
not
somebody
gay.
else. Yeah.
Yep.
To break the tension.
5 feet apart.
From the fake moment.
He's gonna go down to tie his shoes. He's like, "Fuck, no, it's again." It happens.
I really hope one of these guys listen to this.
I know. And it's like, that mother. Like, I can't believe it.
Hey, he didn't say your names. He didn't say your names. So
Exactly.
you're good.
Exactly.
What
exactly.
happens on the Halcyon stays in the Halcyon.
Unless you don't want it to, and then
Right,
I mean,
except
then
for
call
the
in and
YouTube and-
tell
yeah.
us how it worked out. That's what I want to know.
Exactly.
It's probably on YouTube somewhere.
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Hopefully there's
We
no
got some
divorce
digging to
coming
do.
or anything. You know?
No, well, or a different arrangement. It's a big galaxy.
True.
What was always so amazing to me for my voyage is, and you were a direct part of it, when Brad and I we're in the atrium, we're looking around and characters are coming out, like you run into Wani, and then Sandro just pops up out of nowhere. Like he saw Sandro come out of the elevator. It's like
launch
selling
pad,
it.
yes.
Sorry, Jesus Christ.
For the launch pod.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close.
That's okay.
now, it's an
We
elevator.
do that too. Be like,
Launch
over by the
pod,
turbo. Oh, that's
Yeah.
not a damn it.
Yeah,
right,
that
okay,
has to
we
be
did it
tricky
too.
And
too,
then
Yeah, I did.
you just kind of walked up behind Brad and I and just started talking, and it's like, oh, wow,
Yeah, he did.
wow, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden just already like just enamored with that, and that just like it sucks you in,
Wow,
and
thanks
it's like
for that.
that kind of connection, that kind of character interaction. That's what made the Starcruiser just
So much fun,
the
man.
best, the
Yeah.
best. We're the people.
And like I said, we didn't talk to you at all the first time, and we actually never told you our characters' names. But when we showed up to the heist on that third voyage, you put your hand on my shoulder and then on hers later, and we're like, Avance, Taylor, like, good to have you in the crew again. Good seeing you again. I was like, I've never told this guy my name.
Yeah.
That's insane that he knows my name.
Creep.
I think, exactly. Like, oh my
Totally.
God.
I was like, let's leave. Let's
Facebook's stalking me? Yeah, exactly.
like, well, we can't get out. There's 300 people in the cargo hold.
That's right. You're part of a crime now. Welcome to the underworld. Yeah, well, I mean, I probably got it from one of you guys. You know,
we
you
weren't
weren't
with
on that
them.
first
No,
one.
no,
with
we
whoever
weren't,
you were
yeah.
traveling with. I probably got it from
Well,
that. Or,
see, they'll pop up again in listener questions, but
Okay.
our friends Rachel and Brian and Emily.
yeah.
Did you go with
I
them
think I
both
know who that
times
is.
without it?
Well, they were secretly on our voyage together. We didn't know it. We didn't meet them until
really?
months after.
Yeah, because I learned at the Hoth party that I
that's
crashed
right,
one.
that's
I
right.
crashed the climate simulator,
And I made fun of her for not being able to
Yes.
do the. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That together
Yeah.
as one. So we didn't know it, but we were on a voyage with them.
Yeah.
And then we became friends afterwards because we did the Sweet Mate Finder for the third voyage
Oh,
with them.
fun.
So,
Oh, that's really
yeah,
fun.
they have a few listener questions for you, to say the least. but,
Okay. All
yeah.
right, great. Good.
Yeah,
I look forward to that.
we'll get to them in a bit.
Yeah. But yeah. So I know we've talked a ton about Wraith, and rightfully so. 'cause
Yes.
We all love Wraith, and we could talk
Yes.
for weeks about Wraith. But a lot of people also don't know about a little Saja that might have been around from time to time.
Sagittaro. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's funny is when they were closing down. You know, well, initially because the initial plan was to go to 4 days a week, right?
What it should have done.
Yep, I agree. You know, but I was initially go to 4 days a week, and one of the directors pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you want to stay full time here, right? Which is 4 days, right? Because that's how you
Right.
get your healthcare at Disney."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, nobody's gonna. You gotta learn something. What do you want to learn?" And initially they were like Sammy, and I was like, "Yeah." I mean, he's wonderful. It's an awesome character, you know, but it's also a lot of the thing about Wraith, right? Is we make up 6 hours every day. Their scripted portion is the majority of it, so which means it's like 150 pages worth of script.
Jesus.
Same thing for
Jeez.
Croy, and I was like, "Well,
Oh my God.
I don't, you know," and they, you know, they pay you to rehearse it and all that, and
Yeah.
like, you know, but I don't want to be out for that long, especially with a limited number of these left, and also. The one moment that I really love, I mean, I've loved so many moments about this, but one of the things that like I really wish I was at the, you know, steering the ship on is the Force Rocks moment when
Yeah.
you move something in the climate simulator.
Yeah.
It's just because it's such a childhood fantasy,
Dude.
right?
Did you ever get to lead that moment?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, thank God.
Absolutely, yeah. As
Good.
Tiro, I did it quite a few. Well, I mean, not nearly as much as the other Saja, right? Because they were the experts at it, but you know, a few times, and just it didn't always land right because like you kind of got to get. People started to time it towards the end and know when they were happening, and so you'd
Yeah.
have like a crowd, and it's got to be this intimate moment.
Oh.
Yeah, which was right, and I get it, but it's also a
Yeah.
little rough, right? Because
Yeah.
then no one gets it.
No
right?
one
Sure.
blames the passengers there. We blame the fact that it was closing. So, like, I have to do this. So, like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's not the passenger's fault.
No, you know, and that's the tough thing about immersive is that a lot of things are communal experiences and some things are private earned experiences.
Yep.
And you kind of got to keep one and the other the other. With the limited tools you have to enforce that. So it was fine to have an audience, but it kind of made it a little different. But the moments where you know you really got a chance where you had the time to really dig in with somebody about what this idea of like an all-encompassing connection between all things means to them, because that's something that I think no matter what your beliefs are and what you're into, you can connect to. And then take them to sort of down to like a little bit of a meditative state, and then have that happen. It's just such a cool. It's a really wonderful piece of immersive theater. It's such a cool Star Wars moment, and it's the moment I would have wanted when I was like, well, I mean, I still would want as
yeah.
you know in my 30s. Like
We've
it's
all
awesome.
done the thing where you're like, as a kid, you're like,
Your
yeah,
hand
right.
out, or-
As a kid, I did that.
I
Did
did
that like
that
an hour
every
and a
day.
half
I better
ago.
say,
But-
Tom's over here like, which one do I?
Which
Yeah.
secret
Yeah,
should I pull
it's
off
like,
the wall?
I
But
do
it's
that when I
also-
don't want to get up off the couch. I'm like, maybe today.
Maybe.
You know?
Get that
Right.
bottle of bourbon from
Spider-Man.
across.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
you do
flip,
that when
flip.
you walk into like Publix and the door open. You're like, open. You move your arm,
Yeah.
and the door opens. I do it to this day.
Everyone's done that, so
Yeah.
like that's just a natural, like moment, like a real life extension of that. It's just such a. Only time I ever got to see it was when you did it.
That's the only time I ever got to see it too. So
Yep,
it
same with
happened
me.
organically with
Who
Saja
was your-
Dax.
Saja Dax.
Yeah, we love
It's
that
been-
guy, obviously.
He's
But
great.
And
it just
Saja Fenn
happened.
was in there too,
Yep.
wasn't she? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Dax
Yeah,
led
fair
it,
enough.
but Fenn was with them as
Yeah,
well.
I gotcha. Yeah,
But
sometimes they double up.
That just happened organically, and I never thought we were going to really get to see it. And I wasn't going to be the one that was like, let me get in this point at this time and wait for this character. I wasn't going to do that. But so I'm glad it happened.
You know what's funny is that and for the record, the directors did a great job of making sure that we were allowed to pick people who had earned it and
Nice.
who played well to get it. Because you had a lot of people come up if you were playing Saja or Wraith, and either be like, "Hey, I hear you're looking for something, and I steal things, so let me know." And you're like, "I don't even know your name."
Yeah.
what's
Go
your
check
hi,
that
I'm-
guy's room. What the hell did he steal?
He's stealing things.
It's really like either that. Hey man, I don't do spice. A lot of people assume that. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're trying to keep it away from Gaia too, right? Just clean.
Yep.
Totally right. Like, or like as a Saja, people will come up and be like, "Hey, so my child is really force sensitive," and you're like, "That's not
Yeah.
okay." Okay, so tell me what the force means to you, and then you give them a chance to, but you can't just ask for it, or else
Sure.
it's not nearly
Sure.
special, right?
They give the
Yep.
quote from A New Hope. It's a galaxy surrounds us and penetrates. Like,
They just say the quote to you. Yeah. The force surrounds us and penetrates us. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll give it to you then. Yeah, sure. No. That's not how it
Well, the
works.
funny
Like,
thing is like so many people like would come up and they have like a little catch phrase. Like this used to be a thing because initially the people who were writing the datapad stuff were really worried that we weren't going to be able to engage with people, and and the cast. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of us were like, we got it, but it's
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
And then some cast members were worried about like trailheads of like ways into their quest lines just to make sure, which is fine. I mean, I guess nobody had ever done this before, so we were all kind of we were jumping out of a plane, right, hoping that the parachute opens, and so there were these phrases that you could come up and say early on, and Wraith's was, I've seen guys' legendary performance on Ryloth.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where you'd have like 40 people being like, I've seen guys' legendary performance on Ryloth. And then somebody was like, and I've seen guys' legendary, and I've seen guys. And then the weirdest things would happen.
Spartacus.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then the weirdest thing that would happen is like Kylo and Rey would fight. You'd all be really relieved. Things blow up. Hey, let's go down and party. And someone would come up and be like, I saw a guy's legendary performance.
over.
And you're like, what do you want from? What am I supposed to do?
What are you doing
Like,
now?
yeah, exactly.
Like, get the
Where were you
off my ship.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So they took those things out progressively, but the Saja had their own version of that. But
and
I
then they
wasn't.
put in the ways of the Saja to help introduce them. So that was a good change that they did for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Great
Give them a
change.
little more spotlight.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever thought about this or if even the cast has ever really thought about this, but this is something we've talked about on this podcast a gang of times. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
Yeah.
I just want you. What?
I just laughed at how you said that. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Yeah.
But do you realize how cool it is that you guys took completely unknown characters and made us all forget that Kylo Ren and Rey, when the sequel trilogy is like still fresh, no one gave a shit, and I forgot that was like a thing.
Yeah, and Kylo's my
Didn't
favorite
care.
character,
And
but
that's it.
I don't
That's-
care about the
nice.
finale.
Forgot
I want the rest of it. Like,
I forgot about Ray.
Do you know-
Brad and I saw
do you know
Ray.
how cool that is, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks,
How
man.
Not
awesome
only
that
that,
is.
not
so
only that,
wonderful.
but all these characters are in our top 10s now of Star Wars
Yep.
characters.
That's awesome. That's
that is so
hey,
cool,
It's not
dude.
an
Like, that's such a
exaggeration, like,
cool
yeah.
thing you guys were able to accomplish.
As someone who was a deep nerd myself, that I don't know. Again, career highlight. That's wonderful, and thank you so much for that. I'm
How
glad
much
that
of
we
a
were able to do that.
how much of a Star Wars nerd were you before going into this, and how much did you cram?
Yeah, I would say I was probably a solid like 8 out of 10.
Okay,
Dang.
Right,
Okay.
Sweet.
Beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
so like I'd seen almost everything except Clone Wars. I hadn't seen all of it.
Yeah.
Right. I'd
Still
watched some
don't
of
have
it. I'd gotten through the first like 3 seasons, and someone was like, "It really picks up in season 5 and 6."
You wait
I'm like,
till
I have a
season-
job. Like, what do you
Yeah, I
Season
know.
9 really takes.
They're right
There's
though.
5,000
They're right, though.
episodes. It
When
takes
Ahsoka
off.
gets kicked out of the
Yeah.
order, and that
Yep.
that takes off. It's better.
Just do what
It's
I
really
did
cool.
and skip around
Yeah.
to the good stuff.
Yep.
Well, you know, the crazy thing was there were a couple people in the cast. Like one of the guys, Bryce, who played Sandro, as well
Yep.
as one of the
He
Bryce
was our
is great.
first Andrew, I think.
no. Our first Andrew was Ben.
Oh, that's
Was
right.
Ben Crane?
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And then also Simon Needham, who played Croy, and then occasionally, every once in a while, he'd sub in for Wraith.
Yep.
And
Is that our second one? Yeah.
Megan Mahoney, actually, the captain.
She was ours both. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of the OG captain. We're all sort of these repositories for deep Star Wars lore.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Megan knows her.
She could
shit.
write a
Holy
damn book
crap.
about
Oh
Star
my,
Wars.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
insane.
If you want to, sometimes if you need to get rid of a guest, you knew she was going to be on stage because Captain had a lot of like tap dancey moments moments where she's got to be out there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, go ask her about the history of the ship, and like Meg, she got it. She's good. You know, you will get a very enthusiastic.
You're like, how
heartfelt-
long do you have? Oh, you have 8 hours. Go ask her about the history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. That person's gone for a while.
Yep.
I love
we can
her.
steal things now. Yeah. She's
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. But yeah. So like when someone would come up and be like, "So Wraith, my family was in the Battle of Corfu back in the XYZ," like something that like you just hadn't heard of, you'd be like, great, yeah, no, definitely. Hey, we're going to talk about that later. I got to go. And then
Sure.
you'd go and check in with one of them and be like, all right, so
Right.
this is what this person said. Oh, okay, so that's season 7 of Clone Wars. What happened there?
Holy
cool.
crap.
All right, great. How would I now? Would Wraith know anything about that?
Most
I might
likely
know
not,
this and this
but-
and this. Well, that was my favorite thing too. Is that like so? There was a bit. I think one of the fun things about making these characters real is that they don't know everything that's going on the ship.
Yeah.
They also don't know everything that's going on in the galaxy. They have an opinion that is distinctly their own about everything in the galaxy, and that's the joy of it. Like there was this joke that everyone would tell because there was a bit where I'd tell jokes down while waiting for Sammy to wrangle the coaxium downstairs just to kill time because Wraith is nervous, right? And so he's
Yeah.
going to tell jokes. And someone would inevitably be like, hey, what's the temperature of the inside of a tauntaun? And I'd be like, all right, I haven't heard this one. What's the temperature of the inside? And they'd be like, lukewarm. And
You're
I'd be like,
what's that mean?
what?
Yeah, because
What do you mean? What do you mean? And they're like, yeah, Luke got hit. And I was like, wait,
Who?
Luke who? And they're like,
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker. Like, were you there? Like, how do you know
Yeah.
this?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like,
How do you know Luke Skywalker did
yeah,
this? Yeah.
what do you? Is
That's-
this apocryphal? Like, how do you? Yeah, it
That's the
it
thing that
pretty
was
great.
fun for like nerds like us to like
Yeah.
go on and know not everything because that's impossible, but know a lot and
Yeah.
just like not and like turn that off in my brain.
Yeah.
Like okay,
We'll just play.
Avant only knows X amount of things because he's 30 years old. He doesn't know what happened before him, and he doesn't know about Luke Skywalker. So that was fun to do that on our
Yeah.
end. Is just
Yeah.
turn off all those stupid shit I know. Like
Totally. Well, and that's the fun part is you guys are scene partners. You know, like you're actors along with us, and I think that's the beauty of this. Is it really when it succeeds? I think is we're putting you like the guests in. You're the heroes, and we're the best possible NPCs we can be in this game.
Yeah, hell
that you
yeah.
get to play.
mhm.
That's
Beyond
that's
that,
the
yeah.
goal.
yeah, dude. And
I miss it so much, man.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
We, going with our friends Brian and Rachel and Emily. That was their 4th cruise, so they were like pros, professionals at that point. So they knew
definitely.
we wanted to go into muster
So how,
station.
did they have to sell both kidneys to fucking go that many times?
Yes,
Jesus.
for
They
sure.
grew 2 more.
Yeah, they
there
had
were
to grow
some
more.
people. It was
But-
so there were some people who came on like 8 times,
Yeah.
and we were like,
That's
"What
wild.
are they hiring
Yeah.
where you were?"
No shit, man. It's like-
Jesus,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, good for you.
Yeah.
No, don't
It's all
begrudge
spice.
anybody.
They're
Like,
selling
oh my-
spice.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Again, keep it away from Gaia.
But they
Talk to Wani.
yeah.
Trust me.
Talk to
Oh,
Wani.
dang.
Oh, Wani was the one I needed it for the drugs. Damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yeah.
but we
brush
wanted to
up my
be in
hoodies.
Muster Station Dorne, but they also wanted to. But they wanted to go to the back, and I was like, I don't think the view's as good. They're like, trust me, go to the back. So
Right.
then in the finale, you were right next to us the whole finale,
Yeah.
and so was Wani.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was
I
like,
remember.
oh, that's why they want to go to the back because
Yeah.
we had no idea. The first 2 finales we watched, we were focused on the stuff in front.
Yeah.
But then we looked the 3rd voyage. We were like, oh, this is where actually the stuff happens.
They see
'Cause
Chewie comes out.
Chewie comes out, but
That's
when
awesome.
they pulled out the wow, I'm going stupid here, the holocron, it
Yeah,
was like
holocron.
glowing and stuff. You're like, what is that thing? What's it doing? Is it lighting up? Is that okay? And I had to explain to Wraith that like, yeah, it's okay. Like holocrons light up, it's fine. He's like, Wraith is like, is it gonna blow up? I'm like, no. He's like, what is it? I'm like, well, it's like Jedi coaxium because it's like not really coaxium, but
So
it's,
it is going to blow up.
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And that's what
This
he
is
said.
terrible.
Yeah.
That's what he
right,
said
exactly.
because
Yep, yep,
I was like, no, it's just
Yeah.
as important to a coaxium. It's not like coaxium.
Oh, you should have led with that, right?
yeah, and that's basically how it went down, and like that's why I'm glad.
And
we
then he
went
tried
back
to
at
sell
Dorne.
it.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
But-
so that's amazing. Can I tell you my favorite bit to do just because it got out of Star Wars fans?
Oh,
yeah. Yes, please.
So at the end, Yoda comes on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
holocolumns, right?
You're like, who the hell is that?
Yes, that's exactly right. So I would find the person who was playing with me who I knew was a big Star Wars nerd, and I go up and be like, "That's what they're fighting over," and they'd be like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Who is that?" And they're like, "Master Yoda." I'm like, "What's he master of? Talking strangely?" What is this? And they're like, "Look, that's a Jedi master." I'm like, "Jedi? Oh, you should have led with that."
Yeah.
God, I would have killed for that moment,
That's
dude.
ridiculous.
Just the looks, because the people would be just like it's like you walked into church
Teary-eyed,
and
like,
like
"Oh my God,
burned
it's
to the
Yoda."
cross, right?
Yeah.
Or they would laugh their asses off because it's fucking funny.
Right,
That's
right.
hilarious,
So yeah,
man.
it's great.
Shit.
It's
That's
great.
awesome.
And you could justify because why would Wraith know that?
No,
I mean,
yeah,
Jedi,
he wouldn't.
like, come on.
He
Right.
wouldn't.
No, he
unless you've been
wouldn't
to
know that.
Dagobah. You know.
I cried like a bitch first time I saw the holocron.
Yeah. Cool piece of tech in there, right? And the Saja did a great job with that.
It's one of the coolest moments for me.
I don't know
my
if you
favorite
can
moment.
or could or would say, but I'm slowly breaking down how the cloak one works, but I still don't know how the one Ray has works. I have no idea how that goes, but...
Yes. Disney does have
We'll
some pretty
talk.
specific
Yeah, do whatever-
language
yeah,
about, giving away sort of the
Don't
tech.
say anything.
Yeah, because that's like tech. That's different. So,
Exactly.
don't-
So I think I'm probably gonna.
don't
gonna
answer that.
Plead,
Yeah,
the,
no.
plead the fifth on that.
I'm just
one,
trying
but-
to figure it out when I watch it on YouTube. So
How about this? I definitely won't tell you after we turn off the mics.
yeah, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
No,
definitely
I won't,
don't.
I won't
Not-
do that. I
Not
would
in the
never do that.
sanctuary
Who would
of
do
these
that?
four walls where I just close the door, shut the windows,
No.
and
Right.
I mean, I'm on lots of
Bob
lists,
Iger's
but
angrily listening right now. Going, shut the fuck up.
as he's
Get him on the phone.
Mobilize the mouse secret service.
as he's one by
Navy
one
SEALs.
dropping the ribbons into a shredder from the gate.
I tell you,
that'll do,
every time-
that'll do politely. Yes, that'll do nice.
it's the
yes.
meme I made a couple months ago. Every time we have a former Starcruiser actor or somebody on from the cruiser,
Yeah.
I have an FBI van out there that says "Flowers by Iger." So it's just like listening to us.
It's not even subtle.
Yeah,
No,
No, you would think he would.
He's not that
the
smart.
driver is
Come on.
dressed as Mickey Mouse. This isn't. This
No.
is. The,
Yeah,
He's
I
not
think
that
he might try
smart.
to buy me out.
It's
though.
goofy.
He's
He's like,
acquire
"We
the
got
Oak
some
Ridge.
Go with
flowers
that.
to deliver.
Get the buyout. That's pretty good.
Trying to buy Jedi Talk. This way he gets the Sammy file finally.
We'd never sell to them, but
I'll never join you.
nope.
Never join you, Dooku.
That's impossible.
Oh, we have a lot of questions. Should I
That we
start
do.
asking them?
I'm gonna steal one because I know someone asked it
for it.
already,
Yeah,
but
go for it.
I don't know who it was. I don't even know if they did. I'm just assuming. What is your standout moment as Wraith Cole? The one where you look back and you're like, "That was the shit."
Okay.
I'm sure
There
it's
were
hard.
so many of just absolutely incredible. That's the weird thing about looking back on it is just that the things that happened that we got to play in Star Wars. I mean, do you mean moment in the show or like single instance?
Whatever.
throughout the
Either one.
course of the,
So you're at a job interview and they're like, "We got your job. You getting hired depends on this answer." What's the answer?
Oh my God! Great. Yeah, I would say. I would say the payoff for the heist of getting the stone back and watching the effect that it had if we built the story correctly around people, and just what a cathartic moment that was. Generally, because I think that like the way I played Wraith is I always want to make him a little hard to get to know, right? Because it's the IKEA effect. Is that if you invest effort in a relationship, right, and that you slowly start to uncover, you get past the smarm and the cockiness and the jokes and all that stuff, and then you dig down and there's actually sort of heart there. That one, I knew I was doing a good job when the people who were playing with me loved me, would do anything for me, would jump in front of a bullet, and everybody else was kind of like, I don't know about that guy, I don't know if I like him, right? Like that was the goal. Because that makes it interesting, doesn't it? There's a tension there that I think is really dramatically interesting. So if you did that, right, and the storyline that we were spinning with the Hynenea, and you always try to like ask people for their content, like what brought you here? What's your story? And you tie that into the story, what's going to happen. And so if someone came on, like there was a couple that came on that was like, she was very pregnant, like actually pregnant, and she was like, "Okay, we're on the run," and she wouldn't tell me what you're on the run from. And I'm like, "Hey, look, I've been on the run a couple times. I get it.
That's
Like,
a good
it's
idea for a
probably
story.
right?"
Yeah.
And then eventually it came out that their child, they thought had been tested, was force sensitive. But the way they did, and everybody, right, it is, and everybody, is that my kid's force sensitive, but they did such a good job of like laying it out.
Yeah.
And so suddenly it was, hey, if we get this stone home, I mean, you get in good with. The Twi'leks, they're loyal to their own. There may be a place for you to hide on Ryloth if we can get this done, right? And so suddenly they have a personal stake. Their personal story is tied into the thing I know is already going to happen.
Right.
And if you'd done that correctly, then when that stone goes back to Gaia, people weep. And they've had the experience of breaking the rules for a good cause to fight back again and to right a wrong and to sort of fight against injustice. And I feel like those are things that we all want to do. And I think we all do probably in small ways throughout our daily lives. But, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Not everybody is going to be stealing the gem and bringing it back to the country that has experienced too much death and destruction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, and so seeing people get to go through that and ride that ride and having it pay off in that moment, like that's number one for me. And also, I think stealing the coaxium was always just like so much fun. It's just such a
It
cool
looked
moment.
fun how you're up there.
Like
It is.
looking around, your head on a swivel, just like.
The best part about it was like all the people around Croy are loyal to Croy, being like, he is right.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
We
He's
did
doing,
that.
Look,
We
turn
did
around.
that our first
Yes.
voyage.
And so what you do is if you know them, because sometimes they come at Wraith pretty hard, and you get like this kind of fun banter back and forth. Is I find one of them and I pull it out and I wink at them and then run out. It's so good.
That's great.
It was sick.
That's spectacular.
Yeah, it was really fun. So I think in terms of the show that I got to do, those are probably my two favorite moments. I mean, I have like personal moments with guests that happen that are there are a couple. I mean, so much amazing stuff. There are a couple standouts that I think I could probably highlight, but I feel like that's a long answer to a short question, and you did say we have a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
Love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
let
super
you read
cool.
these because I suck at reading out loud.
No, I've got it here.
You got
So-
some, and I've got some. So
Yeah. I'll go with our premier listeners, Michael and Anthony. I told them they'd get first crack.
Okay.
They paid $9.99 for this. No, I'm
Wow.
kidding.
I wish.
That's pretty good.
So
you know what? Bill them after this.
Bill,
Yeah.
yes, I will.
Even if it was their born day recently,
There you go.
like.
Michael's specific question is: what is your dream role character, past or future, in any film or TV show to be cast as?
That's a great question.
That is a good question.
I mean, I would love it if like Mando's running through something on a seedy bar at some point, and in the back you got a purple Twi'lek singing, and then you meet like young Wraith. That'd be cool. as
That
hell.
would be.
That would be.
I mean
Awesome.
that's the easy one. For
Yeah.
me, I think that like if they did a second generation of Firefly where you like meet Mal and Inara's kid or
Yeah.
something, or like their kids, and I was one of those, like that'd be sick. I don't know, but like I hate to say it, I love playing the space smuggler, man. Like
Oh, yeah.
That is
Scoundrel
fine.
is so
Yeah.
much fun.
Hell
Just
yeah.
love what you
That's
love.
awesome, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as said Scoundrel or Saja, did you ever have something so ridiculous happen? This is also Michael's question, that you broke character on the Starcruiser.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one is that there were a couple actors who were also there and did as much of it as I did. That we would try to break each other after a while, just 'cause
Yes.
it's fun. Like
I love it.
Me and one of the Lancas had a game where we would count points in terms of who could break each other on stage, and you don't do it in like the middle of a scene where everybody's looking. You do it off in a corner somewhere, right? Which is fun. There was a passenger at one point who came on who I will never forget. And I had to break character a little bit with her, and she's awesome. She's either the most brilliant immersive actor I've ever met, or just was very drunk. Right? Is one of the two.
Could be both.
Yeah, it could be both. Yeah. And so she came on, and I was surrounded by my little group of people in the beginning, who come up and say hi to Wraith because they want to play Scoundrel, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Lanka comes over. I flirt with Lanka. Right? The captain comes over, and one of the captains like to play it up like we had some sort of history, right? Okay, but that's the second person to come over and do that in like 2 minutes, okay? Which is the builds Wraith's mystique a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
okay, all right, fine. And I'm going to say yes because it's fun.
Yeah.
And then there's Saja B comes over, and when the Saja, I hate to say it, like the Saja Bs would come over, and when they were played by, young women, we learned that they couldn't come over. They would always come over, and I'd give them like oh my god, it's so good to see you, like regardless of who it was, right?
Yeah.
And if they would be like Wraith Cole,
Oh.
everyone would be like, ooh, ex-girlfriend,
Yeah.
just because like that's like every movie they've ever
Right.
seen. That's
Yeah.
how
Right.
it goes, right? And
Yep.
so we didn't really want to play that.
You have a lot of nerve showing your face around
Yeah.
here.
Right,
And I
that's
just
how it
picture,
came
I picture
Yeah.
like Captain Jack on Tortuga when
Right.
they slap
Yeah.
Captain Jack.
Right.
Like that's what I'm picturing.
Like that,
I
and that's
deserve
the
that one.
archetype,
Yeah.
isn't it? But
Yep.
but like it was the type of thing, and then they'd walk away and they'd be like ex-girlfriend, and I would be like no, and they'd be like no, all right, and I'm like no, there's nothing I can say.
Right.
Yeah.
So that had happened. So we got 3, right, and then this woman comes up, and I'm not going to say her name. She is a blonde woman, and she comes up, probably in her 30s, and she goes, Wraith Cole. And Jason goes, what the hell? What is going on today? It's like, and so I look over, and there she
You're
is.
like, shit, what'd I do?
I know. I'm like, what? Who? And so I look over, and she played Wraith Cole's jilted ex-girlfriend, like to the hilt, man, like to the hilt. And like I'm not trying to I'm going because you want to try to give people what they came for,
Yeah, oh
right? And
my
they're showing you
God.
what they're and I'm like, okay,
Holy
I think
shit,
I
that's
think
hilarious. hilarious.
I think I can do this. Like, I think I can do this without breaking the show. I mean, Ray's a human being. He has ex-girlfriends wanted up on the ship. I mean, that's
Sure.
plausible, right? You
Sure.
know?
Oh, yeah.
I go to the immersive
Very
directors and
plausible.
I'm like, is this cool? And they're like, are you comfortable with it? I'm like, yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think, I mean, sure, let's go for it. You know? And so...
I mean, it's not like you're going to start making out with her or
No,
anything.
no,
so like,
no, right. This is like Westworld, except we don't do any of the things that start with F, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, fighting's one of them, but not the only one. So we you know, a little time progresses, and she's told me it's her birthday, and I'm like, happy birthday, you know, happy life day, happy born day, like
Born day,
whatever
yeah.
it is. Yep. And she goes off to the bar, and she's just following me around. And she's with a dude. She's with a guy, right? Who is like, I'm just her bodyguard. Because I was like, oh, you two are this your new? And she's like, no, it's my bodyguard. He's like, yep. And I'm like,
Yup.
okay.
I wonder if
all
it
right.
was like her real life boyfriend or
I don't-
brother.
No,
or,
she hired him
Maybe
off of
brother,
Craigslist.
I don't know,
Right.
something. You know, I don't know. And so then at one point,
I'm
I'm
gonna steal a little coaxium. That's not the only thing that's a little wraith.
and you're like, hey, that's rude, hurtful.
and that's all I can say about that.
Exactly, that is hurtful, miss. And so at one point, I pull her over to like give her, you know, the Coaxium tap card, right? So I'm tapping people in to give them Coaxium Questline digitally. And we're about half an hour into the cruise, and she's clearly had a bit. She's learned her words and stuff. And so she just hangs, she just comes, pushes to the crowd, hangs an arm over my shoulder and goes, you know, it's my birthday, right? And I was like,
Oh no.
Yeah, I
you
gotta
did.
go.
You did say that, and she was like, "How are you going to make sure it's a good birthday, Rafe?" And I was like, "Woman, there's a 13-year-old here who needs coaxium as a quest line. You got no." And so I literally was like, honestly, we got to let bygones be bygones. And like I'm like looking to the crowd for like a little help, and they're all looking at me like, I don't know, man, you're on your
involved
own.
with this psycho.
Right? Exactly. Well, I mean, you know, but the thing is again, she's playing hard, and this is why it lives in my memory forever. Is because then I left. Right, I like got out of the situation. I shut her down and I left, and kind of made it clear that like that's not how we're gonna play. This isn't appropriate, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was a little rude, right? And then she goes and finds Saja Fenruna.
Oh,
and
my God.
cries for like 45
Whoa.
minutes about how I left her on Bespin.
Oh my god.
And I have known this person for half an hour.
She
and so,
had to have gone through a breakup or something.
This is a real life
something.
breakup.
I know, but like, I'm going nuts because I'm like, she is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, this
Did
is
I
the best
really
immersive acting
used to
I've
date
ever
this
seen in
dude?
my life. Yeah, right. It was so that is probably one where I was considering being like, okay, in all seriousness, I'm an actor and don't grab me or anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
Like it was kind of getting to that point.
Yeah. Did they
but-
ever have moments like that where they gave you the okay to be like, you can tell this passenger like this is not real? Was that a
Oh.
thing? Like safe words to say whatever?
That is yeah. So
Okay, that-
Disney did sort of figure that out on the fly, frankly.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing terrible really happened to most of the equity cast. I mean, a couple of us got like hit by kids
No,
or
yeah,
something.
we've heard some of those.
Yeah.
Oh, that was true.
Yeah, we heard some of those stories.
Yeah, which isn't great. You know, and frankly, I mean, as an immersive theater performer, you know, and someone who's interested in creating this work, it's really pivotal to tell people when they're coming on what is okay and what's not, and set some boundaries for the space. And you know, because this is something new for Disney, they didn't know they had to do that. They kind of didn't for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so
But you know how people interact with characters. I used to work for Disney, dude. There were
Yep.
there were dads being creepy with Ariel every fucking day. You
Yeah.
know what people are gonna do.
We know how
I
dumb
just
guests
don't-
are.
You don't. It's
So,
not.
yes.
It's exactly. Like, come on, man.
I-
You know how
The
people
general
are.
public
agree.
in general.
Yeah.
They can be weird.
The resort fatties.
Yeah.
Fair. It's always amazing to me though that like someone is like, all right, I'm gonna spend like $10,000 to take my family to Disneyland.
I'm
And
gonna squeeze Ariel's tits in front of my
exactly,
kids.
exactly. And I'm gonna go
I'm gonna
there.
show them how cool their fucking dad
And I'm
is.
gonna fucking molest the performer. That's my plan.
Dad's going to Florida to catch some charges, son. He ain't coming back.
Yeah, Dad's going fishing. What? Ariel, I'm talking
Fishing
about.
for hookers.
Yeah, exactly.
Hookers and blow.
It's just nuts to me. But again, I mean, people get caught up, and I mean, people talk about this in all immersive theater is that they don't know where the lines are, and it starts to feel
Yeah.
very real. And so, if someone is being a fascist at you or in your area, and you have seen on the news people punching fascists,
Yeah.
Oh sure.
there's going to be a moment where
Poor
it occurs
Croy.
to you, and
Yeah.
people got in his face, and that was the thing about Croy is that the hard part with him is you have to. A lot of the guys figured out you have to play him kind of goofy and very lovable
Yes.
in his
Yep.
own right, or
Yes.
else people
People
would really go nuts.
Dog, we had a
know.
full-on Nazi at our table first cruise.
Really? Really?
He was
Have we
just
never talked about this on the show?
Yes,
Briefly,
several
yeah.
times.
No.
Several
Briefly,
times.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, what happened?
Yeah, we were sitting at dinner, and so
He just
it
made
was
us
just.
awkward as hell.
It was
Really?
Were you with us?
Yeah.
No,
That was
No,
the
no,
second
you weren't.
cruise,
This is our
wasn't it?
first
this
We had
was-
a different one on the second cruise because we had another weirdo on the second cruise.
No,
did?
dude, this wasn't a
I
weirdo.
don't
This
remember
was
that
a
guy.
full-on dude. Was like talking about Hitler at dinner. He's like, Hitler was the man. We were just like, what?
It was the
Fuck.
second dinner. Kuroya just the First Order took over the ship, and
He's like, they dressed like Nazis on this ship, and we're like,
he said something about the
Yeah,
Third Reich. I don't know. He was embarrassing the hell out of his daughter.
his daughter was like,
His
Jesus
daughter's just
Christ.
like he had done this before.
No, I mean, I'm with a daughter. I'm like, blink twice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Dog,
we
yeah.
just
it
get
was-
out of here, man.
And the thing that was awful
That's
for us is
awful.
because we just sat with them at dinner. We were just seated there,
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm
What
like,
are you gonna do?
are people gonna think that we're
Yeah,
fucking
'cause we
Nazis
had-
on this ship, dude? Like,
I'm
what
not
the
with
fuck?
him. He
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah, he's
This
not.
guy
yeah.
sucks. I don't know who he is.
Who this man?
I just looked down. I'm like, wow, that shrimp is very blue, Brad.
We just started
Look at the
ignoring
shrimp.
him. He would just like talk at us, and we would ignore him. And he finally, like, eventually shut the fuck up. But like, we were side by side, and he just kept being like, "Yeah, Hitler." And we're just like,
No,
dude, so, like-
no, Hitler. What the
No.
fuck, man? I don't want to. Yeah,
was
and
wild.
I mean, you're not going to convince this guy, but it's
Yeah,
also
no.
you're like, how did you get through the gate? Right? It's
Yeah.
really a screening
Yep.
process.
What do you do that were you making this kind of money? Like daydreaming about Hitler on the fucking halcyon. It was very wild.
That's weird. I did hear that someone threw a Zig Heil when Kylo came out.
What?
And I wasn't on the cruise. And look, I'm Jewish, man. I'm like, good thing. I don't know. I don't respond rational to that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
Wraith
dude.
would have turned
No.
around and popped him.
No,
Look.
that is responding rationally to that.
well, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's some things
Yeah,
that are worth
man.
losing a job over. But like,
Yeah.
I, I just
That's
Oh,
wild.
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. But you're using the iconography, and so there is a fine line, right? You have to treat
Yeah.
it very carefully. You are going to get you get everybody, right?
Yeah.
You get
Mhm.
everybody.
Sure.
That's rough, though. I'm sorry you guys had to sit next to that dude.
It was-
Oh, it's-
we
it's-
just
it's
we
fine.
just did what we do. And
Yeah.
We belittled him and laughed about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you do. If you can't
We're-
punch them, then that's
Fuck
the
you,
next.
dude.
That's
Yeah.
that's a good
And
option
like
too.
you said, his daughter, man, we felt bad for her. The whole time
No.
she
I
was
did
just
feel
like,
bad for her. She was like older.
Dad,
She was
like,
definitely
stop.
older than 18. I don't think she lived with them, but it was kind of like she came along on the trip because they paid for it, kind of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't wait to go home to my video games and
he
boyfriend.
was,
Yes,
he was just
exactly.
weird because we saw him in the Sublight Lounge later, and he was just a weirdo, like by himself, just weird.
So I know we got a lot of questions, but this is one
Yes.
thing I'll say. Sometimes you get somebody who had that vibe, right?
Yeah.
But wasn't full on going that way. And my favorite thing to do was to get them involved in the criminal underworld and then have them steal a stone for an oppressed people, the Twi'leks, played by a black actress, and hand it back to her and be called a hero. And
Perfect.
watch
Smart.
because it's effective,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so watch
it's
the
real in the
cognitive
moment.
dissonance kick in. So like there were times, it didn't happen a lot, only 2 or 3 times in the course of it,
Oh,
where like
wow.
you
That's
make
very
the
interesting.
choice of like, all right, we're going to see how this goes, but I think
He's
I
a
want to give.
Nazi with a heart of gold.
Well, I want to give him an experience that he's right that he's going to think about later because if
yeah.
That's making a difference. Yeah.
well,
100%. Yeah, dude.
I mean, theater. I don't think theater is a tool to change people's minds. I don't think that, but I do think it is a tool to help people develop into better versions of themselves.
Absolutely.
and it's self-directed. But what you can do is you can give them experiences that either vicariously or in this case, living it that will at least hopefully plant the seed of that process. And so I
It will
I do
ignite
think
the
it's-
spark, you could say.
You could say.
Yeah.
You could
Could say that.
Yeah. Well
You could say
done.
that.
Well done.
All right, next question. Sorry, I derailed.
No,
the
go
fuck
ahead.
out of
No,
that.
No,
you
that
were-
was
that
great.
that was
That's
excellent.
awesome.
That was
Yeah.
everything we needed and more. Tony, his first question you actually already answered when you talk about the Mandalorian. If given the chance, would Jason play Wraith Cole in a live-action Star Wars?
Oh God, are you kidding me? Yeah,
Absolutely,
call me tomorrow.
He's
yes.
like, no, thank you.
Well,
I've been on Jedi Talk now. No thanks.
Exactly. I think, honestly, I feel like I'm trying to leave Star Wars. I feel like I've grown beyond Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, you haven't. Nobody grows beyond Star
No,
Wars.
never.
In case you weren't available for some reason, says Tony,
Mm-hmm.
what actor would you like to see play the role on the big screen?
Oh Jesus. That's a good question.
This was something we kicked around in our group chat with.
What did you guys
Rachel
come
and
to? Yeah, because like his easy
mean-
one's like Chris Pratt because he's done it right.
I
Like
don't
he's
think he
kind of
would
doing.
fit.
I
Yeah.
love Johnny Depp, so I was like Johnny Depp, but I don't think
Johnny
he would.
Depp.
I don't think he would fit. Now that I said it, but I love him.
Because Wraith's got to be. I mean, my interpretation is the only reason that he keeps his job around Gaia because she can have literally anyone is that he's like brutally effective, right?
Yeah.
But he's also not like giant and threat. You know what I mean? He can fly under the radar, and so
Yeah.
like it'd be
Timothy
a tough cast.
Chalamet. No.
You don't want a huge,
jawline, right?
You don't
Oh
want a
my God, cut
huge
glass.
jacked guy. You don't want like
No,
Chris
so
Evans
it's
or
not
Chris
like-
Hemsworth. Like you
Yeah, it's
don't
not like
want
an
that.
action hero. I don't think. Can I think about that? That's a good
Absolutely,
question.
I'm
yeah.
sitting here thinking
Right?
too. I can't think of anybody that would fit.
This one kind of stumped us when we
Yeah,
talked about it.
it's because I'd love. I mean, I'd
Every
love to
other
see it,
character
but-
is easy to kind of play somebody for, but
Yeah.
Wraith isn't that easy.
No, No, he's not.
Well, and for the record, I mean, like, there were a lot of different interpretations of Wraith. I mean, he went
That's
a lot
true.
of different ways.
Great
So,
interpretations.
yeah, they were.
So I posted the question to ask you questions on Reddit and Instagram, and you are very popular on Reddit. Now, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mixed bag. But
No,
honestly,
actually, the Starcruiser community on Reddit is excellent. I think there's some bleed over with some of the ones we've interacted and possibly met.
Reddit gets a bad rap.
Yes, it does. Reddit community, I'm going to try to get to your questions, but you guys asked a lot.
Okay.
Somebody said that's my Wraith.
Fun.
So this is something I'll ask it, and I completely understand that you might not be able to say this, but One Wing Penguin asks, I want to know what
Can we just take a moment?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great name.
I'm into it. All right, One Wing Penguin, you're on.
I kind of want to know what subreddits that they're active in. Electrics Repair.
You might not want to dig too
Vinyl.
deep.
Honestly, it could have been worse though.
Marvel
Yeah,
Snap.
yeah,
There are a lot. There's
Galaxy's
everything on
Edge.
there.
Okay, this is a good.
He's
person.
all right. He's all right.
Yeah.
They're not in like
Or
the
she,
ProLab subreddit.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And again, this might be something that you just can't say, and I completely understand. I want to know what the room was like, where they monitored everyone and spoke to the actors. The whole time I was there, I could think about what the control center must be like.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it looked like NASA. There's just screens everywhere because there's cameras everywhere. And a lot of people, I just want to clear this up, a lot of people thought that we were getting names fed to us in our ear. Totally not true. We would go backstage, we had whiteboards, we'd write things down, we'd talk to each other, trade names with each other to try to like make sure that we knew a whole bunch. And some days you'd have a hot day where you remember 50, and some days you'd have a day where you're like, this is my second cruise in a row. I've been on stage for 14 hours in the last 4 days. I got 3 people, and everybody else is getting a nickname. You know what I mean? Like, and that didn't happen a lot because this was something that you try to connect with people about. But their job was to call cues, and if something went wrong, which it occasionally did, they would hopefully come on and tell you what to do. So you weren't just like, oh, great, the screen is out in the bridge. It's green. It's just a big green. It's a Microsoft screensaver. Cool. So clearly there's an optical shield. We have to clear the room. You know what I mean? Or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they were for. But our support staff, they were awesome. They're just lovely and brilliant people. And a lot of the people who invented the tech, like the extendable lightsaber and like really worked on that stuff, and Sandro's instrument, were there the whole time pressing buttons and making the show happen.
That's insanely cool.
It's really cool.
Nikki T asked a couple questions, but one we kind of answered. Can you share any backstory that you might have created for Saja Tiro? Tiro?
Ooh, all right. So Tiro, yeah. So for Tiro, he was from Kajimi. And
did he get beaten on Kajimi too? That was the first thing
One
he
of
said
Tom's
to any house he on.
So
Wait, what? His mother used to beat him on Kajimi.
No, oh my God, that's so sad.
I know it was.
Like,
I don't know.
I'm from Kajimi. Oh yeah, did your mom beat you too? You're
There's
like,
some real life
bro.
parallels there.
You know,
It was just a joke that I took one way, and I just I don't know. I was yeah.
you gotta have her on next. You do. She's a special guest star.
Yeah. So backstory.
Yeah,
Kajimi.
so Kajimi, his family, because Kajimi's
No,
run by
it's more like-
syndicates. That's not what
Straight right.
That's not where I went, but yeah. But yeah, his family. The syndicates run the show there. There's not
Right.
really a government.
Yeah,
So,
Spice Runners. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So his family worked as bodyguards for one of the syndicates there. He didn't really love that. Kind of saw how the sausage got made one too many times. Was just not into it.
Sure.
And then found that his grandfather, found a cache of his grandfather's things, and found that his grandfather was one of the guardians of the Wills that escaped Jeddah, happened to be off, and landed on Kajimi, started a family, all that.
So cool.
Yeah. So and then went on a quest to kind of reclaim that heritage, and mastered 2 of the lightsaber forms. Was kind of like into dueling and practical practice of it. Was Tiro.
How much? How often did any of that stuff come up?
I would say, I'm being reason. The tough thing about Saja is, they're the glue that holds the whole show together. They're kind of everywhere, right? And they make a lot of important things happen. Mm-hmm. A lot of your time is spent doing lightsaber pods, right? And so you don't get a huge amount of time to connect and talk with people depending on the track. Because there were 3 Saja, and all of them, like I said, all the tracking in terms of where you got to go and what you got to do on the ship, it's like down to the 5 minutes. Like it's very exact, or else the show doesn't work. So probably 1 out of 3 cruises you'd get into it with somebody. I mean, often in Force Rocks it would come up because people talk about family, talk about connections. I mean, it sort of depends. I mean, I said it fairly frequently. When because I mean, my theory of like sort of human relationships getting to know each other is like you see if you kind of click on an instinctive level, and then eventually you reveal more about who you are to the people around you. They get to know you, you get to know them, and then you have an attachment to them. Right? I mean, like, that's how my relationships have always worked. And it's weird because I realized I was doing that on Starcruiser with my characters because you're trying to form. And then I was like, wait, so how am I doing that? Oh, that's the process, like just base level, right? So
then you can take it to real life, you know. And,
right, exactly. So it's that. Yes, so that's the Sagittarius backstory.
Dang, and with the Saja too, like you can kind of make it up to tweak it a little bit. Be like, oh, they said they're related to this character. You can like tweak it a little bit. Be like, sure, yeah, and then you can relate to them.
A little bit, yeah. Or find another aspect of the experience. Like when we were preparing this, we did these sort of immersive improvisation exercises. To your point earlier about sort of the very serious improv, where everybody has a story that they tell. When they're getting to know people, or like at a party, like something like that. You have a couple like in your back pocket where you're like, this is a funny thing that happened to me. Yeah. And so during rehearsal, we would tell that story to like 5 or 6 other actors, right? And then they go, okay, great. Now put a Star Wars skin on top of it.
Interesting.
Clever.
Okay?
That's clever.
Yeah. So the same exact story, but substitute out all, like it's not a car, it's a speeder, right? You didn't go to Iceland, you went to, Hoth, right? You weren't, you didn't fly there. I mean, you did fly there, but it was in a starship. So,
Right.
And you start to get into this thing where when you are relating to people for real, someone will tell you something that's very personal and very deep, and sometimes it's in character, sometimes it's not, right? But you can kind of tell, you can see if it's affecting them, and then you get affected by that. It reminds you of something in your real life, and then you put this like very thin Star Wars membrane on top of it to communicate it back, and that's how you kind of make the connection.
Which is why that woman was going through a breakup.
Exactly. I believe that.
I hope.
I was half joking,
I
but I
she's
believe
okay,
it.
man.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I was that committed.
Do you see her looking through the window there?
She's like,
Oh God.
Before we get to the next one, with the name Tiro 2, is there any history behind that name?
So the initial round of Saja got to pick their names, right? And then, but all the names had to go to Lucasfilm to get approved to make sure that no one like chose like Saja Gabor or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Or there were a lot, right? Like, or Saja Mahal, right? Like you don't want to, right? Like there's just things you want to do.
I appreciate that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right? There's a few of them you can do. Someone was like Saja Ajas, and I was like, that's pretty funny. But yeah, so the last round they were training us up really quick because normally it takes 6 to 8 weeks to train an immersive actor from scratch, right? Ooh. To take all the acting stuff and all that. Yeah, it's 2 months. But if you've been doing the show for a while, like we rehearsed Saja for I think it was like two and a half weeks, something like that. Because like we knew, I mean, the ship, the show, you know how to do it. And so because of the shortened timeline, they were like, all right, so here's a list that Lucasfilm has already approved. Pick.
That's smart on their part, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it was good. It's just because if it's canon, it's got to be approved by them. So.
Yeah.
I'd kill to see that list. I'd love to know what that list was.
Yep.
Yeah, there were a couple. There were good ones. There were a couple weird ones. No one was Saja Rami. That was one because it doesn't. I don't know.
Saja Rami.
Like Rami. R-A-M-M-I. Rami.
that was what I called my grandmother as a kid. Rami.
Really, Rami? Oh, that's kind of nice.
Saja Rami? You called her Saja Rami?
Saja Rami.
She was strong in the force.
Oh boy, I can't wait to go to Saja Rami's house for the summer.
Is that what you sounded like as
Oh
a
boy,
youth?
oh boy. A kid from Alabama sounds like this in the 1980s.
You were an
Young
Italian
brat.
youth.
Young
You were a
Oh
New
boy,
Jersey.
oh boy.
New Jersey.
I was the kid in the Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
newspaper.
Exactly.
Extra,
Civil
extra,
War
Saja
over.
Rami.
It's my final acting
That's
role.
funny.
On a high note.
Nice.
That's good.
Opinions are opinions on Reddit asked, if you were in charge or the head honcho of the Starcruiser, what would you have done differently or changed about the experience looking back on it at all?
Yeah. Wow. All right. So.
Put a chicken and make her gay.
You
You missed an opportunity, sir, for a good drop.
He's got 2 hands,
Yeah,
and he's got
yeah,
3
true.
phones and 8 iPads. And
So, Disney is a huge company that does a great job at what they do, right? And they're a machine that's built. Hey, look! All right, I got to audition for them later. All right, but they're a machine that's built. Like if you go to see the shows like Nemo, it's Broadway quality, but it's 20 minutes, right? That's not what this is. And so there was a lot of, because there are so many different departments who are working on this together, there was a lot of things where we'd be like, all right, so we tried this thing and it didn't work, and so we need to change it. And then they'd be like, great, we're going to tell people. And then like nothing would happen. And so then you're having like Saja, who don't have vocal support, in a room that's closed full of 30 people and filled with mist, and they're doing 4 of these a day, and they're losing their voices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole, I don't know if Adam got into the whole us struggling very hard over the pay rate and the additional work that we're all doing.
He alluded a good amount.
I think we
to it.
talked more off.
Yeah, but
than
he
we
had,
did,
he had
yes.
talked about like not eating and some of those
Was that
kinds
on?
of things.
Was that on the show?
Yep,
Okay.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it was the type of thing where there's a certain standard rate for if you come in and you do Nemo, and I'm not denigrating their work. I mean, they're spectacular performers. It's a wonderful show, right? But being on stage for 5 out of 20 minutes or 10 or 20 out of 20 minutes 4 or 5 times a day, where no one's going to yell something at you, you don't have to remember people's names, there's no through line, you're not kind of dungeon mastering people's, like, 50 people's experience, right? And then
Very different.
Exactly. And you're off stage time. You're not making up 600 hours of Star Wars or whatever it is.
Right.
It's just different. And the way they set up the business, I think that they decided that the cost cutting was going to be in terms of what they paid the cast, to be honest.
Yep.
And so it was a big battle to get anything
Yeah.
near reasonable, and if you ask me, it never really got there. And that maybe Burning Bridges is saying that, but like it wasn't. It was really pretty bad for a while. And I personally think that artists create the best when they feel supported.
Yes.
And they didn't know how to. A lot of the backstage stuff in terms of working out how to cover 80 hours of simultaneous show with 5 directors. So if something goes wrong on stage, you don't really. No one was there except the 2 people who were there and the guests. So like, how do you work that out? They didn't really know how to support us in that way. And so we found our own ways, but we ended up doing a lot of extra work on our break time, resolving those things and talking about those things, and that's not paid time, right? And then, so yeah, I would have paid people appropriately. I would have structured it a bit. My guess is they debt financed the building, and so the reason why money was tight was the huge interest payments on the $300 million building, but you can't take that out of the people who are making the thing happen.
No.
Nope.
Because it takes people to make the dream a reality. Crazy.
That's my thing. And then the other thing is like, all right, so it is a beautiful building. I'm not denigrating any part of it, but how much would you pay $6,000 to go on it without the show?
At this moment, yes, because I miss it.
I wouldn't.
He's the one person.
Yeah.
Fuck no. Is
But
what I
I'd
would say
rather
to
have
that.
y'all. I'd rather have people in it. But like,
That's why I
yeah.
hear of
I just
people
wanna
talk
be in there
about what
again.
might be happening. They're like, "Oh, they're just going to scale it down." I said,
Don't
"No,
do that.
It's not
don't
the
want
same.
that."
I'd rather it be gone forever.
If the people
than
aren't
a
there,
dick tease
then
of what it used to be.
I can't.
Yeah.
Well, they would be. They, I think, in theory, and again, this is all speculation. This isn't anything that I've heard. This isn't official in any way. But you could have a thing where for $500 a head, or you're on Batu, you take the shuttle up, you do a lightsaber pod, you see Gaia sing, you shoot TIE fighters on the bridge, and you see Kylo and Rey fight, and you go back down.
Yeah.
But like, you're losing all of the richness
Yeah.
of living your Star Wars
That's
story.
so hollow and like
You're
just
still just
they're-
watching.
I
They're
don't know if I
missing
come
the
back
point.
to that.
They're missing the point of what it is.
Exactly.
Like you're not.
Exactly.
That's not at all what the ship. Like I said before, you don't give a fuck that Kylo Ren and Rey are on the ship.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you do, but
I mean, you do,
yeah.
but like,
Well,
I mean, you care, but like,
It's
it's
like
not.
whipped cream.
It's not
But
the focus.
But like, you've made like a
Yeah.
friend with a character who,
Yes.
is hopefully reminding you or of the same caliber in terms of interesting
Yeah.
character.
Yeah,
that
because,
you
like-
fell in love with
And
in
they
the
are.
movies.
when you're
right?
talking to Wraith, you don't go, oh God, where's Rey? I wish I could talk to Rey. Like you don't think like that.
Yeah, and granted, the Rays did a very compelling job in their section of it. When they were doing the immersive stuff, I just think that this succeeds best when it feels like you're not just watching. You're causing the things that happen in the story to happen, and then you're
Right.
causing the resolution. The more participatory it is, the better it is, and that
Yes.
model gets rid of that participation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It turns it into a stage instead of a
Yeah.
experience.
exactly.
And there was all like the naysayers and stuff. They were like, "Well, you don't really change what happens." And I'm like, "Well, like, it's same with playing video games. You don't change what happens in
Yeah.
the video game, but like everyone plays them and loves them. It's the
Definitely.
same
That's a
idea.
good point.
Just
And
like,
and you do a bit like there are so many times when someone fed me something cool and you can pay it off later, or like guests do change the show sometimes, like inadvertently. Like there was a time where like there was a kid who was playing really hard. He was the right hand. He took the Hyananea because there's a bridge training that happens right towards the end of the heist, and he went to bridge training with the Hyananea.
yeah,
Right, and so I'm asking my people, and they go, "Well, I think his name is Jacob. He's a great kid. He's like about 16." He goes, "I'm like, where's Jacob?" And they go, "Oh, he went to bridge training." I'm like, "What?" And so I march into bridge training. Right,
Whoop.
I go, "Jacob," and I think it was Jacob, and he turns around, and he looks at me, and goes, "Wraith." He's on the side, and I go, "Do you have it?" And he goes, "Yes." And I go, can I have it? And he goes, yes. And I walk over and I say, shake my hand. And he gets it and he shakes my hand, gives me the Heinenea. And as I'm shaking his hand, I say, your name will be sung on Ryloth for generations. And then I look around at the room full of people in bridge training who have no idea what's going on. And I go, sorry, carry on. And then we'll leave stage because what are you going to do? Right? Yeah. But those people got a different experience because of Jacob. People did all kinds of stuff. And so like you don't affect the nuts and bolts of the plot so much as you affect how the scene plays out.
Yep.
Right? And that's just as important if you ask me.
I'm so happy that came up naturally because I think somebody who saw that or the person asked this on Reddit.
Oh, really?
Nikki T asked again, please ask him for prosperity to tell the story of Rate's young right hand who ditched the heist and took the Heinenea stone into his bridge.
Holy shit! Are you serious?
Are you serious? That's on Reddit?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
And it wasn't. It wasn't.
That's wild.
That was crazy.
That exact instance wasn't on our third voyage, but that did happen where they weren't there, and obviously by that point you had it down pat. You're like, it's okay. I stopped by and got it from him, and you pulled it out of your pocket.
Yeah. So we have a second one just in case. I would say that happened in maybe 1% of cases that people wouldn't show up with it, and we get it later from them. I will say that we never had anybody like walk off with the prop
intentionally.
It was like something got messed up, or they didn't understand the instruction, or like they got spooked by something, and they were just playing really hard. But one of the fun things was the moment, because initially we used to have them give it back upstairs, and one of the directors was like, I was talking to her and we kind of came up with the idea that like, no, let's have them carry it down. Like, I bet you they'll do it. And 99 probably 0.5% of the time they did, which is a cool moment.
Yeah.
That is affecting the story.
And the longer you have it, the more like emotionally you feel like you're involved. If it's 5 seconds, you don't feel as good. Like, but if it's 5 minutes, like I protected this with my life. Here it is. Like,
I held the soul of
I walked
Ryloth,
past the stormtroopers for 5 minutes with it. Like,
I sweated through the captain. My favorite thing too is like someone's really playing hard and you give them the right, and you have the scene with the captain. You look back and they're just like vibrating in the corner, just like it's just so much energy. It was so much
spectacular.
Fun. Yeah.
What else you got?
Blue Eyes Brewing. Why is he the best? I mean, he's been telling us why he's the best.
That's really sweet.
Listen to the episode, dude.
Long Dog Studios. Wraith. He FaceTime our kids with us and blew their mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you do that a lot? Did you FaceTime?
While we were on stage, someone come up and be like, "Hey, I had an old friend of yours who, ran a job with you. It's their life day. Would you say hi?" Or their born day. I mean, people always say life day.
Right.
Will you say hi? I'm like, hell yeah, absolutely. I got another 5 minutes out here. Let's do it. It's gonna make somebody's day. Why not? So
cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Of course. Yeah.
Bob Iger somewhere sweating. That was $50 we could have had.
I know, right? We could have charged for that.
You had talked about the gifts. Do you have a best gift that you've ever received?
Oh my God!
If it's not mine, I just don't even. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, that's not fair.
Mine was so generic. So I don't.
No, not at all. No. The thing is that like,
it was just Evan's phone number.
It was.
Yep.
And somehow he got that blonde girl's phone number too, and gave it to me. He gave it to me.
Yeah, because I didn't want it. I did not want it.
Right, exactly. There were so many. First of all, I will say that there was a definite crossover between like the demographics of people who can afford going to the Starcruiser and who are nerds enough to want, and I say that as a nerd, to go on Starcruiser.
Right.
And people who own 3D printers. Yeah, there's a crossover there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but we got some like. The very last voyage I was walking off and somebody just like I'd say goodbye for the last time. I'm all teary-eyed. Somebody hands me this like a full-on Mando helmet and goes, "Keep it." And I'm like, what? And then I got like coaxium all the time. I have like 3 or 4 different Heinenea things. Captain Vest, who I know is a bit of a celebrity in the fan community, surprised me and gave me the flag of the Revenant, her ship, which caused me to cry on stage, like a little baby. And it was but again, there's just so much. And the moment that someone makes something at home, takes the time to do that, and then decides to give it to you as a way to say, it's like, remember me, remember this. I don't know. It's a weirdly moving thing. Even if we get a whole bunch of them, like we got, I got like boxes of these things, but like it is weirdly, that moment is moving every time.
That's spectacular.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I just had to say this is funny, not a question, but Precursor 2552 says, "My wife loves his Wraith." And then one post and by responded, "Your wife sounds like a man of taste."
She does.
Hopefully she's not blonde.
Right.
Oh, this is a great question. Star Wars.
I thought he was about to say, "Oh, she commented." The girl.
She linked her OnlyFans. Right. Star Wars YT said,
I maintain again, like she granted was having a drunk and probably working through a breakup, but still, That is brilliant immersive acting. I've not. I aspire to one day
Yeah.
hit that level of commitment. Yeah, exactly. And break a show.
Star Wars YT wants to know, what did you learn about your acting ability throughout working in the Starcruiser?
Good question. To be perfectly honest, I think that, especially early on in my career, all artists are plagued by doubt. And I think that for actors, that lives a little more on our face, right? Because if you're a writer and you're plagued by doubt, you can shamefully type out your brilliant novel and edit it shamefully and then send it to somebody and never look. We're in there in the room. It's if you are worried about measuring up to the size of your aspirations or your dreams or even making a living doing this, right? That shows on your face. And granted, I got rid of a lot of that in grad school, kind of really revamped my artistic life in a really wonderful way, and I've been working really consistently since then. Before that was good too, but it's really taken a step up, and so I do have to credit, the MFA. But I do think that jumping out on stage and not knowing exactly what's going to happen for 6 hours for the next 2 days, but knowing that you're going to make it work.
Yeah.
I feel like now I've been doing other stuff and I'm bulletproof. Nothing scares me because I'm
man.
they already wrote it down. I don't even have to make stuff up. Yeah, this is fine. I'm making up how I'm saying this, but I don't have to create, a heartfelt monologue that's truthful to pay off this moment for somebody because they launched something really cool in the air and we're in the second half and I want to give them that from scratch in this moment and still get off stage on time. It was like, running a marathon with 300 pounds strapped to your back and then everything else is a 5K. It's not a problem anymore. It's really cool.
And if it's something filmed, you have multiple takes. So even if that's not my best take, that's fine. We got another one.
You get another
but
chance.
On the cruiser, you got one take.
True. Yes. Yeah. And most of the time you hit it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that it's given me a lot of. It just sort of proved to me without a shadow of a doubt that. It sounds arrogant maybe, but I'm good at this, and it's okay to acknowledge that.
Yes, you are.
You're great at it.
I know, but you never want to sound like an asshole, right? So
hey, go for it.
Fuck those people.
Right. Fuck those people.
You're great at it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, and weirdly, internally, I don't doubt that capability at all anymore. It just, at least in the last 2 months, and that is a significant change for me. Also, I think that it's made me think that I've always written. Right, and I want to create more immersive work because I believe in the form, and I've written in it and I've produced, I've directed a little bit, and I think expanding into those and being one of the people, who is would continue to be one of the people who's central to sort of creating new versions of this. I want to do that now.
Okay,
and that's different.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
I'm jumping over to Instagram, try to do a lightning round here, but we'll get to as many as we can.
Yeah, totally, man.
Patrick, our good buddy Patrick, asked a bunch. So his first one, he asked, what's Wraith's relationship with Gaia's sister?
Yes. This is a complicated question because that's not technically canon.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way this worked is that we all got thrown out there with a base level of scripts, and some of them weren't done, right? When we opened and made it up. And then we made up things that were true to us. And each Wraith had a different backstory, right? Just like the Saja. Okay?
Right.
And then we went to Lucasfilm and we're like, hey, this is what we've been thinking.
Sure.
And they were like, no. And we're like, okay, all right. What should we say? And the feedback we got was, we'll just keep it vague. Because they probably don't know what they want to do with the character yet.
Okay.
Right? And the problem with that is that's not how, the form works, and it's not how human relationships work, and it's also not how you build a compelling character. Right?
Yeah.
So I can tell you my version of it. But if I'm being totally honest, this is not canon.
Okay.
It's canon in my heart.
There you go.
It is until proven otherwise to me.
Right, there you go.
Palpatine
There you go.
returned.
And I know that that's a but that's the case. Is that again? My thought was Wraith is. There's got to be how he met Gaia, and there's got to be a reason she keeps him around, and the reason that because she can have literally anybody around her, and so. The reason that he's there is that he's effective, right? And they've created a good team together. The reason that they met is, I think, I had this whole thing. I was on Bespin for a while, and we were running a job, and I met her sister, who was a dancer, and we had a romantic entanglement, and Gaia didn't really like me at first. and we got involved in this sort of like resistance movement on Ryloth against their oppressors, because that is still a story. Like the Twi'leks are like a stand-in for oppressed people,
Right.
but they're never the center of the story, right? And that was the joy of the Gaia Race storyline, is you really got to center that story and model allyship and like active allyship and all kinds of stuff, right? And so they met, and she died fighting as a resistance to try to free her home world, and kind of the this myth of the stone coming home was something that kept her flame alive, and it was kind of became this promise that we had that we were going to bring it home for her.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't know if they could write a better story.
Well,
Like-
look, that was, and the funny thing was is that
That's upsetting. That's not canon.
that came out of, it is, that came out of people asking like, what are the necklaces, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's an easy trailhead into, okay, so these mean family on Ryloth. And then people, they ask further because they want to know, because nerds love lore. And
Details.
Yeah, and they
I
have
know,
those,
right.
They have those, what are they called? Calicories that are.
Yeah, the Calicories, that are
same
like
idea.
family. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
there's kind of a history there with the Twi'leks, and I'm sorry to burst anybody's bubble. We actually got towards the end like a don't stop doing that, but it wasn't. We were never trying to step on anybody's toes. We were just answering the response, because people want to know these things. They want to know why they're doing what they're doing, because that's what gives it meaning. That's what gets that reaction of people like weeping while they hand over this little piece of plastic.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's worth $6,000.
Yeah.
So, that was disappointing. But we tried, and we respected their wishes towards the end, but it was the last couple of months anyway.
Absolutely.
That sucks.
Yeah,
That
I
does
know.
suck.
I know. I'm
Great
sorry to
question,
burst
though.
anybody's
Was-
But
bubble.
it's still a good story.
Was that
Yeah.
like you'd have to submit to like the story group? Is it Lucasfilm, or was it like a different department that was like overseeing the theme park stuff?
No. So it went to Lucasfilm, and all the wraiths had their own separate stories, not just me, that they were telling.
Interesting.
Right? Yes. And mine is one that kind of it resonated, and people were asking, because I was getting, my numbers were very high, and people were asking like, what are you doing out there? And I'd tell them, they're like, well, I don't, you got to run that by them. So I like wrote up a thing and was like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Tell me if this is wrong. And it got up all the way up through Imagineering, who liked it, who sent it to Lucasfilm, we shot it down. So
Wild.
Yeah, but that's wild because like you got.
It's already doing well. It's not like you
That
have
too.
to figure out.
Well,
like,
if it
that's-
ain't broke, don't fix it.
and,
but-
and to be honest, you also have to understand the context of like, so if you look at the live Star Wars content, if you look at Star Wars weekends, as fun as they were, we're not exactly talking canon, right?
Right.
You
Yeah,
have like
definitely.
Darth Vader out there.
I
like,
hope
twerking
not.
and shit.
Yeah, none of it.
So the relationship between Lucasfilm and Disney live experience is one of sort of growing trust. And Lucasfilm are very protective of their stories, and I understand why. Like, as someone who creates stories, like, I totally get that. I do. And it's their golden goose. Like, you don't want to do anything that's gonna. So I get it. And we weren't trying to step on toes. We were just responding to the needs of the people there to try to give them the best experience we could.
And you absolutely did. That's
like you
awesome.
said, there's different
Yeah.
takes on Wraith. You have some Wraiths that are 40, 50 years old, whatever, and then you
Totally.
have some that are 30. So like the take's going to be different. The backstory is going to be different. A
Absolutely.
60-year-old can't be like, well, I was born 30 years ago, and be like, well, no, you weren't.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
and I think that there were a couple different, directors, and they cast their own version of Wraith, and luckily we all got to explore, our kind of version of what we thought it was, what we thought it should be.
Absolutely.
Awesome. What else?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Cam has a simple one: blue or green milk.
Mix them.
Mix them. Ooh,
I've done that once.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's good. I like
Yeah. It's a great. Actually, I think I prefer green slightly.
Ooh.
Patrick asked, and you may have answered this already. Which role that you played was the most challenging?
Ooh, Wraith, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you did
just
the most
making
with
up
him.
so
Yeah.
much stuff, and it's got to be good, right? You're like reaching back into like screenplay training to be like, all right, where does this scene need to go with this person who's doesn't have any of that, and you're trying to guide them,
And
right?
there's timing on top of all that, too. It's insane.
Yeah, you got to make, and then you got to make it funny and snappy and feel like Star Wars. Tiro was also. The Saja are also challenging because again, you don't have. Having that freedom is challenging. It's a burden, right, to make up that much stuff, and then not having it is also challenging because you really have to hit the small moments you have with people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would say the most challenging role in the show is definitely Croy because no one called me a Nazi and screamed in my face.
Sure.
Right. So like that's probably it. That's it, right? You know, like I didn't have to deal with that. Yeah, I had people occasionally come up and call me a dirtbag, and then they'd walk away, and I'd be
Never
like,
got assaulted.
and then I'd be like, yeah, I didn't know. I'd look to my people and be like, I don't know who that was.
Assault,
Do
brother.
you know who that was, guys? And they'd be like, no, and I'd be like, yeah, I've never seen her before in my life. Yeah, it was, but yeah, I think that's my answer. It's
Okay.
Wraith. It's Wraith.
That makes sense.
A few of these questions, like Princess and Princess Woodruff and a couple others you asked Patrick, were already answered. So I'm gonna swing through.
Thank you to everyone who sent in questions, by the way. Appreciate you.
Enigmanet asked, if they brought Starcruiser back, would you return to it?
Ooh.
Complicated question. I would return to that work any day of the week. Right? So like because
Yeah.
and the crowds and the people who came and played hard and put their heart and soul into it, it was the first time anything had been done like that. And like I said, backstage and the pay and just the sort of lack of the support for actors made it a heavy lift. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, granted, what I've said here tonight might make this an impossibility, but would I come back? They would have to make significant changes to the pay structure as well as the support given to actors backstage.
And I think with what's been in the news, especially with the strikes and stuff, that's pretty. It's like a common like thought and stuff.
Yeah, I just hate to say it, is that like you're getting. Someone did the math, right? And granted, this is all wrapped up, so you get the food, and you get to stay, and all of the wonderful people who commit their heart and soul to Starcruiser, and they all work very hard. But like, you pay more per minute for Starcruiser than you do for Hamilton, right? And the actors don't make a fraction of
Sure.
what the chorus members,
Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Christ.
Right.
Well, now I'm depressed.
Sorry, guys. I hate to burst anybody's bubble on that,
man.
but they for
No.
me, and I
I
think
think it needs to be said first off. That's important,
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
especially with what people are paying to go on the thing.
right. Like and again, my guess is it was they were hedging their bets with that financing, and the interest screwed them, and then they took it. So like for me,
And they don't have any patience.
Yeah, for me, they would have to make some pretty significant changes in terms of the way things work backstage, because like it was a wonderful 2 years artistically. It was also 2 years that like I would go home after working full time at Starcruiser and do audiobook content and do commercials and do every single person on that thing had another job.
That's
Oh God.
insane.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
It should not be that way.
Holy
well, I
shit.
appreciate that, man. Yeah. So like it's a complicated question. I would love to say yes, to be honest.
Okay.
but, yeah.
I'm glad I
It's
asked
a
that.
yes
Or glad the
if or
listener
yes
asked that,
but.
and that I.
Right. Yeah, I know. I don't want
Thank
to
you.
ruin the experience because I also want you to know
Not
that
at
like
all.
I wouldn't trade it for.
Bob Iger did that.
Well, fair enough. I wouldn't trade it for the world,
Mm-hmm.
and I also wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take it back. I don't regret it for a moment. It is the most meaningful thing I think I've ever done artistically, which is why it's a hard question.
Yeah. That makes total makes
And
sense.
I don't want that to ruin anybody's experience because your guys' job was to show up for us, and universally you did.
Oh yeah.
So-
And you showed back up for us after all this going on too.
Well, that's the goal.
The Halcyon is universal.
It
There
is.
you go.
But it's Disney.
Yeah.
I have
No, it's not.
more of a
It has nothing
more
to
of
do
a
with
fun,
Disney.
more of a fun question. What's your favorite sublight lounge cocktail?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't know what the real ones taste like. Of course, I've never had friends in the bar who, I wouldn't know that
Of course not.
that the guy's special is a Dagobah Vimlet, basically, and that the was it the Hoth Icebreaker? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Mr. Firehand's pretty good. I've allegedly.
I've heard. He formerly
from,
tried them.
from friends.
Okay.
Based on his YouTube searching,
Yes, exactly.
that's what he thinks.
All right.
Yeah.
3.75 inch punch asks a very specific question. I'm
Okay.
going to ask it because it's specific, and
Let's
I'm
do
going to
it.
fuck up some of the things that he asks here.
Do it.
The kata that the Saja practiced on the balcony, where
Yeah.
did that come from? I recognize movements from a variety of martial arts, from wushu to Shotokan to capoeira.
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 Yeah.
Wondered if the cast made it up or if someone professionally choreographed it.
Absolutely. So that was the brilliant Amina Kaplan,
Hey,
who was one of our immersive directors. In
Sweet.
conjunction with, she did work with the fight captains who were Saja to make that kata, and her goal was to make the Saja feel like a
Yeah.
real force of awesome martial artists, because that's the myth, right? Like that's the mythology behind them. So yeah, and I think she succeeded with
Hell
Flying
yeah.
Colors.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I
Good
I
question.
didn't record all of it, but on day 2, when there's
Yeah.
2 Saja up there doing it, I was
Right.
recording it, and it just looks like they're both having the time of their lives.
Oh,
just
yeah,
making
yeah,
up
yeah.
random crap and just like it looks ridiculous but legit at the same time.
Well, so the funny thing was like, so you had Saja who were Saja all the time,
Yeah.
right? So you had Saja who were Saja 4 days a week,
Right.
And then occasionally someone gets sick, and you have somebody who's is a Gaia or a Lenka or a Wraith fill in for Saja, or someone who's just a sub, because there are people who are just subs, and they haven't done this kata for like 3 months,
Yeah.
and so that scene gets very different. Because it's supposed to be one Saja teaching the other, it's very real when you're, and having
really teaching
having
him.
been a new Saja and been
That's
like,
incredibly
oh,
awesome.
shit, I haven't.
gotta
so what
do
comes
this.
next? Yeah, exactly.
So authentic.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't know it. Go up
You
there.
really
and,
don't
like,
know.
learn
That's
it.
method acting right there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The
Time to get
last,
caught up with your training.
not a question from Instagram, and then I'll hand it over to you, Evan, to
Okay.
take the last questions before we wrap it up. But Disney World Mike just simply says, I was on the last voyage of the Starcruiser, and I was dealing with a condition.
Some guy with a beard kept weeping. Who the fuck was that?
Sadly, it wasn't me because I wasn't on the last one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you weren't the last one.
Shut up, you idiots. This is important.
For the record, we all have beards and we all can cry.
yeah,
True.
Yeah, we can.
And I was dealing with a condition that kept me sidelined at key points. Jason,
I read
Wraith,
this, yeah.
made sure I was included.
Yep.
Please thank him for me. It did not go unnoticed. He says that's 2 I owe him. So
Dang, man.
Well,
there you go.
Well, he's never going to hear that, so.
He just
for the record, you got for us, like it's funny because like I just always find myself coming back to being grateful for how you all showed up for us, and it sounds silly because of course you're going to go there and try to have the time of your lives, but we have so much support. I know what's going to happen next, and you have these people who are playing so hard with their heart and soul.
it's true.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the best immersive theater is participatory and inclusive. And so, the especially if someone's got like a mobility challenge or something like that, you want to make sure that you give them something important to do. Just
Right.
because probably in most of their life, they get overlooked by strangers, and you want to make sure that that's not the experience.
Right.
Yeah,
Or challenges, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, man. I have a few people, but Rachel sent a lot of them. So-
Okay, all right, hey, do it.
But
Do it.
Rachel loves you, as you probably know.
Yeah.
But-
She's wonderful.
A few of them have already been answered, so I'll just read them and we'll kind of skim through. But number 1 is, can you tell us anything on the workshopping of the character before and after the Starcruiser opened? Were you able to influence the final direction of the character? There are rumors that the character was quite different in the early stages of development than in the final product.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I think there were a couple different visions from a couple different, because I mean, you had multiple directors developing this thing, and multiple people making decisions on casting and that kind of a thing. But I will say that, I mean, yeah, having improvised a lot of scenes that ended up in the treatments and like, but we all did. I mean, we all contributed certain specific aspects to the characters, right?
Yeah.
Like, and each of us, again, Stephen Lane, like, contributed a huge amount to Wraith, and just in terms of his track through it. And I think it's fair to say that I did as well, and everyone who touched it, right? I mean, that's the thing, is that like everyone who played it. So yeah, in terms of the vision for the character going forward, I'm not quite sure. I have no idea what they're going to do. Again, what I've said here on this podcast tonight may preclude me playing Wraith again.
Please
But-
don't blame it on us. Blame it on Jedi Talk. You already hate us for the same
No. I mean,
But what they don't know is that he's not actually here. This is me doing an impression the entire time.
it's a
good
really
one.
good impression.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, like who Wraith was going to turn out to be was always kind of up in the air, and I think that when we all went into production, and showed it to an audience, there wasn't a version of it that didn't work, and some got more attention than others, and the immersive directors were smart enough to know that, like, because so much of it's improv, you can't improvise as somebody else.
Yeah.
So they're like, the role, you're at, do what comes naturally to you, and then shaping that obviously so it fits within the rest of the framework.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We already kind of answered this one. Were you a Star Wars fan before the Cruiser? And
Oh, yes.
Did the
Oh, yeah.
Cruiser change your fandom? So,
Yeah, you can.
Oh
skip
yeah,
that.
yeah. I was a
Yeah,
fan before, and I'm a
through
much
those.
deeper nerdy fan now.
Hell
I
yeah.
know
Yeah.
so
We
much
all are. I
Star
am.
Wars shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was already going.
Yeah,
into it,
I was
so-
a 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
but now I'm bigger than that somehow. But
Right.
can you speak on the differences between stage acting and the acting on the Cruiser? Did it take a while to get comfortable acting with the unpredictable elements of the passengers' responses and actions.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, and great question, and good spot. So, trained theater actor, done it my whole life, and there is all those skill sets, but there's also a set of immersive skill sets that came from Michael Terra Garver and some of our immersive theater directors, all of our immersive theater directors kind of taught, like, okay, so there's some nuts and bolts things in terms of how to engage a crowd, right? There's like just very technical, all right, so you look at the person on the left and you make eye contact and you finish a sentence. You sweep across, you look at the person on the right, make eye contact, and finish a sentence. And everyone feels included, whereas if you're scanning the crowd, it feels like
it's good for us to know because we're trying to do something like this down the road with our meetup. So
nice,
I'm taking notes mentally here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
right?
I'm going to go listen to this again and take notes. So I love this.
Well, yeah, so that's, and there's triangulation, whereas something happens in a scene, right, between you and another character, your character has a feeling about it, you throw that feeling to somebody in the audience. It's the thing that, like, frankly, kind of shitty people do in an argument, right? Mm-hmm. Where they like look at somebody and be like, this guy, right? But like in immersive theater, it's very engaging. And so there's technical nuts and bolts like that. And then there's the improv element. And I've done a lot of improv, and so had most people who were on Cruiser had some kind of background in that. And you just kind of blend it all together. And the weird thing is again, going out on stage for the first time in front of people, you have all the skills and you've rehearsed it a million times, but the only people who've been your guests are your castmates and the other people who are playing with you, and they're going to be nice about it. You have no idea what people are going to... People say all kinds of crazy... And they did say all kinds of crazy stuff out there, and you got to roll with it. And again, it's this massive leaping out of the plane and seeing if you fly, but we all did. And that's the confidence piece, is that I'm like, man, there's nothing... What are you going to throw at me? You know what I mean? I was in the middle of a big... speech to steel coaxium, right? I'm like, are you with me? Are you with me? You're with me, right? It's this big fiery, like, Aragorn for Frodo moment, right? Before when Ray takes the coaxium on, and I like, are you with me? Yes. You with me? Yes. And I look at a guy who's like a dad who's been there playing with his kids, and he's wearing Birkenstocks and like a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. He is not into it, right? And so, you with me? You with me? And my third one, I go, you with me? And he just goes, if Gaia had a doctor, would she be a gynecologist? And like, I was like, in my head, I'm like, you motherfucker. Right? Like, but if I can feel, you know what I mean? Like, once you feel that, there's not much else. Like, if I can survive that moment on stage, like, I'm good, right? So, yes, it did take some getting used to. It is a very specific skill set, and one that I hope to see utilized a lot more by actors going forward.
Was it like a massive relief when it worked? You're like, shit, this actually worked.
Oh my God, yes. Like, we all got done with the first one. We're like, it worked. It worked. And that's the thing too, is that, like, I can't be too hard on Disney, because whenever you're doing something brand new, right? Yeah. There's gonna be bugs to work out, and I think we all understand that. And I don't want to denigrate the brilliant work of everybody who contributed to it. I think it was, as it was closing, I was talking to one of the very, very higher ups who was kind of coming around and comforting everybody. And he was like, well, the Wright brothers' first flight only flew 98 feet.
Exactly.
And look where we are now. And fair, right? And my guess is the Wright brothers probably weren't paying the people making that airplane a great wage, Those people probably should have unionized. Well, I mean, we do have a union, but like probably should have fought that shit. Yeah. So like I don't...
But they didn't give up after that flight.
Exactly.
We have amazing airplanes today. So how about you give it more time?
Well, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes.
I think
but we don't have faith in what they're doing.
Not Malaysian Airlines 370 that the aliens made.
Well, to be fair, we wouldn't have Spirit Airlines if they had given up, which is probably something we should
I'm way into the conspiracy.
Fair enough. I get it. I know. It's all connected. I get it. But yeah. So I mean, I do think there's going to be a lot more immersive work down the road. I hope that the outward quote unquote business failure of this thing doesn't scare off Disney and large players like it from taking a risk on it. That would be my fear of this. But I do think that there's very smart people working on making the next best version of this. Right
I was really hoping that Universal would do something like this with Harry Potter.
So we were all saying that. We were all like, okay, so this is Alumni Weekend at Hogwarts, 100%. Right? Come on, guys.
Oh,
it's right there.
God, sure.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm going to go do it. I don't know anything about Harry Potter, but I would
do
go
it
do it.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it cool? And then just do like the augmented reality goggles, and so when you expect a Patronum, stuff comes out the end of the wand. Like, come on.
That's what I thought they were going to
It
do
was
with the
right there.
saber training, is I thought they were going to have like a headset, like the
Yeah.
training helmet they wear,
Totally.
and then the blade was going to come out there. But
Yeah.
the direction they went was awesome.
Yeah, it's
Still,
pretty
it was
good.
still
Yeah, yeah.
great, but I was expecting that headset. But
Exactly.
Either way, it was great.
The tech
I
is
didn't even
super cool.
consider that until you just said that. That
I
would've
said
been
it
the
a
way
long
to
time
go.
ago.
Did you?
Yeah,
I block a lot of things you say
that's
out.
okay. As you should. As you
I'm
should.
kidding.
What else we got there, Evan?
It's Tom
Gender
I block out.
aside, what other Starcruiser character would you like to have played?
Ooh. I guess I mean Croy, a little bit.
Yeah, he
just
looks so much fun.
Guess right. I mean,
Yeah.
just the challenge of it and like making him relatable, and also just being able to be unabashedly evil. And like my stage career, I've had the chance to play like true villains every once in a while, and there's like a weird freedom to it where you're like, I'm gonna do all the stuff that my brain tells me not to do in real life.
Completely unhinged.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
an asshole. It's gonna be great. So like that's fun. I mean like Lenka has a lot to do, and a lot of it's really structured. I think it'd be fun to be the captain. Honestly, like she gets some really cool moments, and that moment on the bridge where you're about to jump and the whole ship shuts down. Like that's so cool.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it'd probably be either Croy or the captain.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be sick.
I think it'd be fun to be Wani. A different skill set completely.
Yeah.
Dude, they're awesome too.
But,
They're such
like-
incredible actors because it's they got an inch and a half of rubber between you
basically
and them. They still
miming,
communicate.
like you're
yeah,
miming, essentially.
And then they
It's
know the
cool.
whole language with the the squawk box stuff that's on them. Like they're triggering all that. So they know all of that.
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Dang.
I'd love to do Chewie. I mean, just because I'm tall enough for
Mhm.
it, probably, or something. That'd be fun. What else you got, Evan?
The Starcruiser means a lot to many people for a myriad of reasons. Many of the passengers have deep and emotional connections to their time on the Halcyon. Was there a specific moment where you realized just how much the experience meant to the people?
Oh, it's really hard to pick just one. There were so many. I've been doing this for a long time in terms of storytelling, and I always found a lot of value in escaping into imaginative worlds because I think it helps you find parts of yourself that maybe the life you're leading doesn't give you the opportunity to fully explore. And your circumstance doesn't allow that. And like, I can't tell you how important that was to me coming up, like as a kid and as a young adult and now pushing middle-aged man, it's so pivotal. I think that's why people have told stories since there have been people. I think that's what stories are for, right? Mm-hmm. And so assuming that it worked and it didn't all just sort of explode in flames, which was, I think, all of our fear going into like the first couple of performances, like I knew how, like the revelation was that immersive was such a powerful form of it. And that's why I'm sold on it and I want to, keep making and do a lot more of it going forward, is just because it's so yeah, I mean, and you could see it. I mean, that's the thing is like, I think one of the meaningful things is that, you're out on stage or something, or you make a film and you get the applause and you get people saying nice things. But here they actually get the chance to like look you in the face and you see it in their face how much it's meant to them. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that's that's why I think I'm so thankful for this is that it's like, oh, the thing that I think this does, it does it. This work really has meaning. So yeah, long answer to a short question, I think, but
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect answer.
It's a great
though,
one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Rachel's last question, and then we have two other listeners with other questions.
Okay.
One of the more difficult aspects of being a Starcruiser actor had to be remembering passengers' names. Did you have a particular process you used to keep everyone straight?
Yes. So after the first,
This is fascinating to me because I suck at names.
yeah, do you? So
Dude, I'm awful with it.
it's one of those things where,
What's your name?
right?
Rediger.
That's right.
Go with that. That's a pretty good name.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah. So two things we're working on in our favor. One is we'd help each other, right? You could be like, oh, come on, the guy dressed as a red Twi'lek, his name starts with an L, and someone would be like, whatever it is, right? Larry. That's right. It's Larry the Twi'lek. Good. You write it down.
Larry.
Or what I notice is that if you have a group of people and they're all playing together, and there's usually one person who talks the most, who kind of acts as like the ambassador for the group. If you know that person's name, everybody feels included. You're good, right? And you try to get everybody, but on a full cruise, you're dealing with your portion of the ship is 60 people, and you don't get that much time with all of them. So what we would do is we'd come, or at least what I would do, and I think a lot of my cohorts would come backstage, and there's these whiteboards, and you come off stage, you've just met 40 people, and you just start writing down as many names as you can remember, right? and then you're talking to each other, going like, all right, so did you meet this group, this family? Okay, great. What was the dad's name? Cool, it was that. Good. And then all right, and the mom's name was Laura, and then you'd write it down, and then throughout the course of the day, we just pass it back and forth and kind of work together on that. And then the nice thing about Wraith is because the character, at least the way I was playing him, nicknames are totally a thing. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, if someone's got a big horn coming out of their head or whatever, I don't have to remember that guy's name. Your name is the Horn now. And that's what I'm going to call you.
You are the Horn.
Yeah, right. Or, like, I had a cruise once where, like, there were two big burly guys in two different groups, and so I called one the Muscle and the other Muscles, and they didn't know about each other until the heist. It was great. It was awesome.
So that had a payoff. That
Yeah,
they didn't
it
even know was
totally
coming.
did. Yeah, exactly.
Solid.
They became friends after a brief moment.
Spider-Man meme.
Sizing each
Nice.
other up. Exactly. Yeah, it was awesome. So like, I mean that's a thing. Or if you remember like where they're from, you can say the planet, but it's just it's a brute
You have like
strength
backups on
thing.
backups at that point.
Exactly,
Like, I don't
right.
remember your name, but I know you're from Kajimi like me. So hey, Kajimi, like yeah.
Totally. And plus brains are very plastic, right? So like the
Yeah.
first month it was really tough, and you get better at it.
Oh yeah.
You just get better at it.
I suck at
Dang.
it so bad, dude.
I'm also taking
You got to
notes for
spend a
that
couple
too.
months on the
'cause-
Starcruiser.
I
You'll
guess.
never be bad at it again.
Or I
Yeah.
just would.
He's not rehireable by Disney.
Oh, man.
Fair enough.
I'm not.
I'm taking all those mental notes because we're gonna try to incorporate this kind of stuff and be 2% as good as all of you were. If we're that good, then I'll be happy.
Did he tell you what we're doing?
No, what are you guys doing? You've mentioned it a couple times.
Well, we got an update coming next week for all the listeners. A big,
Okay.
big update. But
Okay.
essentially,
I don't want to,
no,
No,
it's
go ahead,
we'll
go
say
ahead.
whatever now. But essentially, we got a maybe 2-hour max plot line that we have set up with a MacGuffin. The MacGuffin
You have to show
has a
him.
big significance.
You
Yeah,
have to show
significance.
him.
I can't say it
Yeah.
here. I will show you what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's going to be the 3 factions: First Order, Resistance, and Tom is this faction called the Cause that he's created.
It's going to be more connected with what Saw Gerrera was trying to do.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
All right, that's
so
awesome.
We all are going to have hopefully 15 to 20 people that are joining our faction
Dude, this is sick. That's
to
awesome.
hunt down this MacGuffin.
Okay.
And then the winner of the MacGuffin has this big reveal, and then so we'll show you what this thing is we're hunting after, because I don't want to spoil
You
it
should
for the
That
show-
is
listeners.
so fucking cool. Everybody pay attention to that and throw a lot of love on that. We need a lot more of that.
Oh,
That's
we have a
awesome.
ton of people coming, and
Okay.
I'm hoping it's not getting too big. We're getting worried that it's getting too big.
Yeah,
Because
well, a couple of them. Run
I am
it twice.
concerned that it is too big to be on
Yeah.
Batu, kind of under the radar.
Well, just like the
Oh.
Starcruiser and Jollywood Nights.
It's in Batu.
Oh yeah, it's on
Under the
Batu.
radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now you're speaking my language. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
So,
you see how it goes. Run it twice.
Oh yeah, we're doing it definitely more than once. This
Right.
is the first time ever, and then
Okay.
hey, you know what? If it doesn't go well, we're not giving up.
Look,
Crazy
all we're
concept.
doing
Crazy concept.
is living our own story like Disney tells us to do
There
constantly.
you go.
We're
That's
actually-
exactly
literally all
right.
we're doing.
We actually followed.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Hey, look, as long as you're not breaking stuff or going to
We're
areas
not.
you shouldn't be, then I
Nope.
think you're
No.
it's
Nope.
fine, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
how I.
It's-
That's my interpretation of the rules.
There you go. Yeah. shocking, right?
the lightsaber meetups and the droid meetups are
Yeah.
a thing, and they have thousands of people.
Yeah.
We're
There you
not
go.
even
Yeah.
if we are bigger than we expect, we're not going to be thousands.
Right.
So I don't think we'll be
No,
thousands.
no, we won't be thousands.
There's no way.
Right.
So
Oh, man.
even if we get a fraction of those, we're fine.
Right.
So I'm not worried about it.
Right.
But we're all excited for it. It's March 1st. So
That's
that's,
so
that's
awesome,
a mini
man.
update,
Hell
huge update
yeah.
coming next episode
Yes.
for those
You
listeners.
go for it.
It's
I'll
gonna
listening
be
for that.
fucking awesome.
That sounds
Can't wait.
fucking awesome.
It's gonna be
It's
awesome,
fun,
dude.
yeah.
How are you guys finding like writing the sort of branching, plot lines and things threading together?
It was a lot tougher than I expected. At least I can't speak for them, but yeah. So
Absolutely.
I just had like the idea of MacGuffin, people want to get it, and I was like, okay, wait, how does this character tie to this?
Yeah,
and how do these
totally.
people join them? And how do they get the thing? And, yeah,
Totally.
So it's a lot,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
and it's tiny. It's 2 hours max. Like
We'll
this is
run it
such a
by
small
you.
event.
We'll run it by you after this and get some input.
All right,
Yeah.
hell yeah! I'm excited to hear about it. I'm so happy you guys are continuing to see the value in this, continuing to make it. The
Yeah.
more of this there is out there, I think the better off we all
Yep.
are. Like it's awesome.
We're all
It's
about
awesome shit.
celebrating this instead of mourning it.
Yeah.
I wanna
Yeah.
celebrate
That's always
it.
been
Well,
our thing.
and that's the thing,
That's
it
what we had you guys on because we want to talk about
That's
good,
right.
bad, sad, and move on.
Yeah, all
and
right.
then
Well,
kind of-
I hope I wasn't a downer with them.
No.
Not at all. And
No.
in the meantime, we're also looking at new places to tie ribbons. So hey,
Okay. Hell yeah, do it.
yep.
Viva la resistance, if you will.
Our friend
you can
Emily.
squeeze behind that. I saw that the
And
little container.
those container things may or may not be empty and movable. So take that as you will.
I have no comment.
Good. Emily has asked What are your 3 favorite record company names that you used?
Oh man.
The one
all right,
they used
so-
on a cruise was great, but I want to hear your 3.
So Twi-Fi Records.
Okay.
It's looking good.
Twi-Fi.
They're looking good. And then there was, oh my God, there were so many. There were occasionally it would like fall to a child to like make it. It would be like the whatever 5-year-old is with like her dad who's been playing with me and she's with me.
Fortnite Floss Dance Records.
It
Is
would
that
be
what the kids do nowadays?
It would be like one was like boot squoot or something like that, and
Yes.
everybody would just walk around and say it to each other.
Yeah.
like
I
it was
would
like
buy
boot
an
boot squoot,
album
and you're
for
like,
Boot Squoot.
It was
hell yeah.
completely legitimate, like.
Yeah, and then I don't know. The Felony Records was like one that was like over and over and over again. Yeah, hell yeah. And
That's
I'm
a
like
good one.
that fits. That fits.
Who runs that? Dave Felony?
Yes, exactly. There you go. Nice. Well done. Well done. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, because I remember on our last cruise, it was one of the. It wasn't a 5-year-old, but it was that same idea. You're like, put them on the spot. You're like, "What's your record company?" And they're like, and you're like, "Oh, got it,
Records. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
Well, because the more ridiculous it is, the more fun it is to go
Yeah,
back and play with
exactly.
Sandra. So
But
like, hell yeah.
The one that our friends did on a cruise that we were with them, but not officially with them because we
Right.
didn't know them.
Right.
They proposed Big Wookiee energy. So that's my favorite I've ever heard. And
Oh yeah, you got me beat there. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That was pretty solid. Yeah.
Twin Sun Records, bro.
yeah.
Twin Sun Records.
Twin
would have been-
Sons?
would have
That's a
been
good
my
one.
recommendation.
I would have
like
made
that.
up the
I like
story that Cara Dune went on to make her own record company, the
Yes.
Cara Dune Record Company. That's why
Yes.
that's why she's not sharing.
That's why
with
it's
them.
CDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CDs, there you go. That's genius too. Man.
Big Wookiee energy record. Oh, that's great.
And then our last listener that sent in a few questions is Will Clark. Will wants to know, what was the most significant part of the Wraith character that you evolved over time? We kind of hinted on that, but if you have any elaboration.
If not, fuck you, Will.
Yeah, no. Again, I mean, for me, it was. I mean, the core of the experience was just connecting with people, right? Like that's the core of and y'all made it so easy to do that. For me, my character, like playing the unresolved. For me, I think what makes interesting characters, especially in this context, is you have to give them unresolved conflict that is very deeply personal to them, right?
Yeah.
That they're incapable of resolving on their own, and then you bring in you, the hero. You know, the audience
Of your own journey,
the
like,
guest,
yeah.
of the own journey, who helps this person resolve this big life problem and issue, and in doing so becomes a close friend, right? And that was
Yeah.
kind of the thinking of I think the build out that we all did, and I did for that. So for me, playing that of like having this ghost between me and Gaia. And having somebody come in, or a group of people come in and become like family and solve that, like that was just a wonderful emotional journey to take every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something like you mentioned that it's not canon, but Gaia had the sister. That could be changed. Maybe it's Gaia's dad or Gaia's mom, or it's somebody that you had a connection with and you
Right.
lost them together. So
Exactly.
like, the general idea can stay the same. It's like the story. Like you don't change Kylo fights Rey, but you change all the details before it.
Exactly.
Same idea.
And that's the thing, is that like at some point there's a reason why Gaia and Wraith are together.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a reason why they got together.
And that's
they,
what's important.
They probably have some shared history, and the reason the Hyananea specifically is important probably has something to do with that shared history. And they may take it in a totally other direction, but like given what's already been established officially, like I don't know. I mean, I look forward to see what they do with it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we basically answered this already, but what is the most disruptive or off-script passenger interaction you experienced, and how did you improvise around it?
I think I already told you about that one. I think,
Yeah.
with
Oh, yeah.
yeah, right. Well, no, I mean, like, there's a story, and it's not my story, but it's a damn good story, and I think it's instructive. So Andrew Romano was one of the, and he tells us better than I do if he ever comes on, but he was one of the Sammys, okay, and he's excellent, and he's down there with. Did you guys have him for
I
Sammy?
don't know.
No.
Did we?
Taylor
Yeah,
and I
he was
did.
your first time. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dark. He's a great guy, great actor. And he was apparently he came off stage because he was just devastated by this, and he told us a story, and it lives in my head rent free. So he comes off stage, and apparently he's down. Chewie's just got on the ship, right? I almost just said spoilers, but
Too soon.
yeah, damn it, right? Yeah,
Too soon.
knee jerk.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn it.
So Chewie gets on the ship, right? And he's in the engineering room with him, being like, "All right, so how do we talk about Chewie without letting everybody know what's going on and what Chewie, what's Chewie?
Right.
What should we call him? What should we call him?" And he goes around to the audience. He goes, "What should we call him?"
Yeah.
Right? With his people, the guests playing there, and they don't know. And he looks at this kid and he goes, "What should we call him?" This kid's 9 years old, and the kid, dead ass, goes, "Pedophile."
What?
And Romano goes, "What? No, what? No, what? No, what?"
Yeah.
Like
Sounds like Sammy.
Kid, yeah,
No.
right. Oh my God, yeah. Do you need to talk to someone? What the heck? Oh my God, what is going on right now? And
Police have already been called.
yeah,
Disney,
my
yeah,
God.
Disney's like, all right.
The
Blink
FBI is
Orange
already there.
County
kid
Sheriff
blinked
here
twice.
immediately.
Like, what's going
This
on?
blink joke has come up like 8 times this episode. I'm worried.
Yeah,
Like,
right. A little.
Do we all need to blink twice?
I think we all need to blink twice.
Is your mother the one upstairs drinking with Wraith Cole?
Definitely. But
Who's
yeah,
the security guard?
you guys want to know what they ended up calling Chewie that cruise?
Pete.
Peter.
Yeah, it was close. Pete. It's close. Last name File.
Yeah, I don't know. If there's
It sounds like Star Wars fans
Yeah.
to figure a way to.
it was
man.
pretty, but I don't know if I would have. I might have just walked the hell off stage, man.
No,
I don't know what I
yeah.
would have done with that.
I'd be like, what? Oh,
Crazy.
a message, Captain? I'm on
Yes,
my way.
oh my God, I have to leave. And kid,
have
you
an
should come with me and
incoming
talk to our
transmission.
security officer on set. Oh my God.
And,
One of the Canto Bite police officers would like to have a word with you. They're
Yeah.
dressed in blue.
Yeah, they're from Cantobite Personnel Security (CPS). Okay, and they're right here. You just tell them everything you just told me. Okay,
Yes.
you're safe. You're safe here.
Oh my God.
Man.
It's nuts.
That's
Holy cow.
hilarious.
That was pretty funny. Oh my God, yeah.
Man.
Let's call Chewie.
Right,
time-
like what the hell?
next
And it's
time
a
I see-
9-year-old. You're like, when did you hear that? Well, why? Oh my God.
Next time we see Chewie in Galaxy's Edge, you'd be like, hey, Peter. How's it going? He'd be like,
Just hear from behind the mask. Don't fucking call me that.
Yeah.
what? Who said that?
You're right, exactly.
Oh, man. And our last question, also from Will Clark.
You're right, exactly.
This is one of the better questions. I love this idea. He said he wants to know, how did playing Asaja give you a different perspective on Wraith?
Ooh, good question. Yeah. So, one, a lot of the skills are transferable, right? So the connecting with people and like how you kind of draw out, you establish rapport and draw out kind of what they're bringing to the table, and you yes and it and connect it to what you're doing. And so, I mean, in all that, it was transferable with that. But I suppose that's Wraith to Saja. In terms of the show, it gave me a better appreciation for kind of what they do, and it also showed me, as Wraith, how to better support my Saja partners in the moments that we shared. And I also think it showed me a little bit kind of what to expect from them and put the choices that some people were, making into context so that I could kind of better understand where they were coming from. Like it was just overall a good thing. It was a different, just a different window into how the show worked, It also gave me an appreciation for, like, again, making up 6 hours of Star Wars content every 2 days and getting it where it needs to be, so that it's the quality it needs to be, is a burden. Doing a pod and experiencing the Yoda moment of, oh my God, I'm hearing my equivalent of like the voice of a deity, doing that honestly 4 times a day, that's hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time this has ever happened for you. 4 times a day.
Oh my God,
right? Like
yeah.
it's emotionally difficult, and you do find a groove with it. Like, it's fun and it's fine in the end, but it just sort of gave me an appreciation for the work that we're all doing there.
Man.
Here's how dumb I am. I just realized they did multiple of those Yodas.
Of
right?
course.
Oh, yeah, per cruise.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
stupid.
absolutely. You churn and burn, and like sometimes you do it back to back. There's a couple Sasha tracks where you do 2 pods back to back, and that's an hour in
Jesus.
there. Yeah, exactly.
So does Ray just like walk out then walk back in kind of thing?
Well,
So
I think the Stormtrooper moment is in between, right? Like the Trooper, and then like the Croy moment too might be in between.
yes, there are. I feel like this is verging into
that's fine.
showing behind the curtain a little bit. But
I get
like,
it, yeah.
there are multiple Ray moments. Like
Right.
there are
Beautiful.
certain parts of the show that are repeated, and certain parts that aren't. And I think the difference between. I mean, but that's the thing, is all the bridges are unique. The bridges are sequential, but the saber pods aren't.
Interesting.
Yeah, good
Okay.
point,
You know,
good point.
like you don't come into the saber rod and be like, "You're never going to believe what happened in the last day." We heard Yoda. Anyway, all right. Here we go. You know what I mean? What again? Are you twice in one day?
This never happened.
It would
This
have been
is
cool
never-
maybe
Is
if
this
they
Kyle's
had.
mom twice in one day?
Hey-o. It could have been cool
That's
if it
the
was a
longest
different.
stretch we've ever had without a
It
Kyle's
really was
mom.
because that's
Yeah,
how
pretty good.
interesting this is. Like,
Yeah.
but it would have been cool if it was a
Not as
different.
interesting as Kyle's mom.
Hey,
Right.
we're making up for it right now.
That was pretty good. Yeah, you got to do a couple of them in a row.
Yeah. But it would have been cool too.
I'll
if it
do
was
I'll do
like-
Kyle's mom a few times in a row.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. Hey, rule of threes. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
liked
rule
it.
of
I liked
threes.
it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
If it was like a different Jedi every time, so like it could have been Yoda, and then the next time it could have been Qui-Gon. So you'd be like, "Did you see Qui-Gon? No, we saw Yoda." That could have been cool, but
That
I know
would've
they
been
couldn't
cool.
have got Liam. Maybe
I would have
like,
been-
That would have been.
Yeah, I think
They
so.
got a
Furious if there was a Qui-Gon.
And you missed
I missed
Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon.
Oh,
I would.
yeah.
I'd be like, no, you're gonna get me back in that pod.
Yeah, right now.
I got to see Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
Right.
I love Qui-Gon Jinn. He's my favorite.
man.
He's awesome, man. Liam Neeson.
he's the
Watch him
goat.
do
So-
anything. Yeah.
So that means you led the holocron reveal, you led the rocks, and I'm gonna assume you led the actual training, the saber training.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Quite a bit.
That's dope though. You did all three, man.
Yeah, well,
The big three?
all the Sajas, yeah. So those are kind of the three shows that the Saja have, are those three, and then you kind of interweave throughout. I mean, there's a Saja who catches Wraith in the heist. There's a Saja that helps Wraith in the heist.
Yeah.
There's a Saja that brings Chewie upstairs, brings him back. I mean, like
Right.
it's you're all threaded throughout the show, and they all have different tracks. And if you've been doing it for a long time, you know all the tracks, right?
Yeah.
But if you've been doing it for a month because it's learning 3 roles and each role is 6.5 hours of content, what you have is a little sheet in your pocket. You go, all right, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Second on stage. Oh yeah, they're right. This is true.
Promo notes.
Okay, yeah, good,
That's
good.
awesome.
And I got to hit these
Man.
3 time beats. I got it, and then you just go. So. Yeah, sorry. That's again maybe breaking the magic a little bit.
No,
I'm sure there are
I want all that
there's better
stuff. I want to
Sajas.
know all that stuff.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
never know how
Because
this whole
this
thing
is-
works, but I want to.
Yeah, because it's you learn one part and then you have 18 hours of performance essentially, to remember. And again, there were people who knew it like the back of their hand because they did it all the time. I was not one of those people. So
Cool, man. Any
yeah.
other questions?
No one
No,
else
no,
sent
there
any
were no
others in.
questions.
Good.
I have another about 50 myself, but we can't do it here.
Yeah, we
Well,
got 2
there-
hours.
there
Fair
could be a part 2 at some
That
point.
could be.
Store for another time.
yes, indeed. Well, hey,
So-
I want to hear what's gonna, how your version of this, your the piece you're putting together. I want
Yeah.
to hear how that's gonna go.
Yeah, I'll be happy to tell you about it and happy to
Let's
get any
do it.
feedback. From
Yeah,
it.
man. Hey,
let's
well,
do it.
I'll be listening into this thing and making sure that I'm tracking it just because it sounds like a hell of a time.
All right,
gonna be
now this is serious. We can't just let this fall.
No, yeah.
We've got
No.
Wraith Cole listening.
We were messing around before.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
now it's serious.
People
No,
were like,
it's
wait, you
serious
were- you were-
business. The
Yeah.
fate of Ryloth is at
I've already
stake.
booked a trip. What do you mean you were not serious?
Can't thank you enough for being here right
dude.
now. It's just
Yep.
it's surreal to think that when like Brad and I stepped on the Starcruiser for the first time and you interacted with us, you were one of my top moments on the Starcruiser.
He's here.
Yeah, and he's here. You were walking with Gaia from the Crown of Corellia, and you were going, I think, off towards the brig or something, and then you just stopped dead in your tracks with Guy turned because we were with you in the heist, and you're just like, hey, you doing all right up there? You guys
Yeah.
did great. Everything was great. And
Yeah.
just like the tiny little check-in that I'm sure you do with everybody. It was just like, holy shit, like he stopped. The Star Wars character stopped deadpan, to check. And like that kind of stuff, the fact that you're here talking with us on this podcast that we do, it's just, can't say thank you enough.
Hey,
Yeah,
dude.
man.
Well,
I
man,
can't say
we
thank you
can't
enough.
say thank you
Yeah.
enough.
again, for the record, you guys, Ross, when you came on, like you remember the people who play well and play hard,
Mm-hmm.
and like I love the podcast. Like I love your content, and I think you guys are doing a great job. And
Thanks,
like,
buddy.
yeah, no, it's the truth. And like,
Appreciate
it is always a pleasure to talk about this, these experiences, because like I don't know, like I said, it was for as meaningful as it was for everybody who came. Speaking personally, you don't fake that on stage. It's just as meaningful for us. So
Hell yeah.
thank you for this.
I'm excited. I found a friend who will drink now.
A bourbon buddy.
A
Oh, are
bourbon
you kidding
friend.
me? I'll drink whiskey right now. I don't care.
You do, but you're not into it.
No,
You know what I mean?
I'm not into it like you.
I'm
Yeah.
talking like this would be like having Tim here.
All my money goes here.
Yeah,
there,
I mean,
all
I
my
get
money's
it.
at
that band.
Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Brad normally takes it away for us. And yeah, go ahead.
Let's
take
do
us
it.
home.
Thank you guys for listening. We will see you on the next one. Until then, stay safe. May the force be with you.
Always in Tabuite.
Rise, Jedi Knight. Jason, we always let our guests get the final word, so you get the final word on Jedi Talk.
Hell yeah. For Ryloth!
Hey, for Ryloth.
Yeah.